You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look me better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Naruto Meets Lilo and Stitch. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of KFB Anime 87 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Few days later. It had been a few days since Naruto, Lilo and Stitch had helped Leo find his place in the world as a waste disposal for the island. Today was Sunday and Naruto and Nani were at the beach so she could teach him to surf. Alright, are you Audie? Nani trailed off as Naruto approached, only wearing orange swimming trunks that had a flame pattern on them, lightly blushing at his fit body. Ready as I'll ever be, but did we have to come so early? Well, Lilo's hula class is going to do a sand sculpture for a contest and I want to hear her entry when she gets home, plus you can't say that sunrise doesn't look appealing, Nani said as she stood in front of the sunrise as her hair swayed with the ocean breeze. Naruto looked at Nani instead of the sunrise. You sure do, he said without thinking. Huh? Nani asked, looking away from the sunrise and looking at Naruto. I mean it does, the sun does, it looks appealing. Yeah, the sun, that's what I meant, Naruto said as he quickly composed himself. Okay, let's get this lesson started, Nani said as she carried her surfboard towards the ocean. Naruto couldn't help but stare at Nani's figure as she got on her board. Well, you coming? Nani said out in the ocean. Right. Naruto said as he followed. A little later. Naruto and Nani were walking back to shore a few hours after their lesson. You got some moves, Nani said with a smile. I'd like to show you some time, Naruto grumbled to himself as he tried not to leer at Nani's figure. What was that? Nani asked as she turned to look at him. It is about time for Lilo to get home. Naruto said quickly, coming up with an excuse. You know, it's kinda awesome how much you care about her. I always thought I'd be the only one who could care for her that much, Nani said with a smile. Well, she's like a little sister to me, so I like to care for her as if she was my sister, Naruto said as he smiled back. Well, considering how well you've been with her, I'd say you're gonna make one awesome dad someday, Nani said as they both walked towards their cars. Yeah, my mom says that too, and with how you've been doing, you'd make one hell of a mom, Naruto said. I'm not perfect, Nani said with a dismissive wave of her hand. Nobody is, but you sure seem like the perfect sister to me, Naruto said as he got into his car to follow Nani home. Nani smiled at this before she entered her car and he watched her let out a breath and slump in her seat before fanning herself as she wasn't used to seeing Naruto in a swimsuit. Naruto groaned in his seat as he ran his hand through his hair as he composed himself after seeing Nani in a swimsuit. That woman/man is gonna be the death of me one day, they muttered simultaneously before they started their cars. At Nani's house. The two walked into the house in their normal clothes before Naruto stopped and sniffed the air. Okay, what died in this house? He said as they entered the kitchen, seeing a depressed Lilo with Stitch, Jumba, Pleakley and whatever dish Jumba made on the table. That is the sad smell of my humiliation, Lilo said as she spammed her head on the table, depressed. Oh, what happened, Lilo? Naruto asked as he took a seat next to her. Whole Nani went to the kitchen to attempt to clean it. We have to make a sand sculpture for the contest and I need something to beat Myrtle's idea, Lilo said. What's the theme? Naruto asked curiously. Aloha. Stitch said as he tried to eat Jumba's food but choked and spat it out. And what did she choose? Naruto asked while Nani shooed Stitch away so she could clean. Duke Kahanamoku, Lilo said with a sigh. Hawaii's #1 athlete and ambassador of Aloha. Wow, that'll be hard to beat, Naruto said with a wince as he knew that would be hard to beat. I suggested to little girl to make amazing fortress of which to rain down evilness to everyone around its genius, HAHHA, with little flag at tip-top, Jumba said with a smile. Why not have Stitch make something, after all he's known to make some cool stuff, Nanny suggested. Yaga, cool. Stitch said putting on Naruto's shades only to poke himself in the eye. Give me those you gremlin, Naruto said with a chuckle as he took back his shades. Naga. Bright light. Stitch yelled with a laugh as he knew the movie Naruto was referencing. Naruto laughed at this before he looked at Lilo who was still depressed. Okay little sis, I know how to cheer you up, he said as he patted her on the head as he had an idea. Later. Naruto, Nanny, Lilo and Stitch were walking down the road towards a hotel. Naruto was carrying Lilo as Stitch ran past them using their red towel as a hero cape. I don't know about this, it's supposed to be guest only at the Birds of Paradise Hotel, Nanny said. Relax, I figured out their schedule, on some days it's blue towels and others it's red and today is red day, Naruto said as he pulled out a red towel. Yeah, Naruto and I do this all the time, Lilo said happily. I don't know how to feel about this, Nanny said. Look, just get into your swimsuit and nobody will know. Naruto said as he put Lilo down to take off his shirt. Nanny paused at this and looked at Naruto a little before she shook her head and left to the changing room. Ah! Stitch said as he covered his eyes as Naruto went to take off his pants. Relax, I got my trunks on under them, Naruto said. Excuse me sir, are you and your family guests? A man with red hair and a manager badge on his shirt. Yes, see red towel, Naruto said with a smile as he held up his towel. And what is your name then? If you are guests we should have you written down in the guest list. Naruto shrugged, going for it, Naruto Uzumaki. Interesting, cause there is no, wait Uzumaki, the man asked as his eyes widened in realization. That's right, we done here? Naruto asked boredly, figuring it would take forever for them to find out he wasn't a guest. Please enjoy your stay Mr. Uzumaki, the man quickly said with a forced smile as he ran off. What was that about? Lilo asked curiously. Got me kiddo. Naruto said with a shrug. Unknown to him, the manager ran to his workers and made an announcement. Okay, we have a VIP and his family people, so make sure they feel welcome, the manager yelled to his workers in a panic. Who is it, boss? A bellhop asked curiously as their boss never was this panicked. It's a relative of the new owner, Miss Uzumaki, the manager said with a firm tone while the rest of paused and slightly paled. Oh no, some of the workers said as they started to mutter among themselves. So if we want to keep on her good side, let's keep him and his family happy, the manager said as his workers nodded and got to work. Meanwhile, back outside, Lilo and Stitch were having what Lilo calls a photo safari while Stitch took some stuff making a hero outfit for himself, a person's shades, a sunbather's top and another red towel to make his cape longer. Tada, Stitch said as he took a heroic pose. Stitch, you stole someone's top. Naruto said. Maybe? Stitch asked as Naruto approached him and Lilo. Give me that. Naruto said as he took the top off Stitch's head. Then when he turned around he was slapped by said top's owner, who took it back. Ain't that just my luck, he muttered. Stitch was rolling laughing at him. What do you care, you have Nanny, Lilo said simply. That's true, hey wait a minute. Naruto yelled as he realized what Lilo said. Whole Stitch laughed harder. Oh no. Lilo yelled out as she pointed. What? I'm not mad. Naruto said, thinking Lilo thought he was mad at her. No, not you, it's gone too. He's after an experiment, one with a big butt, Lilo said, seeing the whale man alien after a purple experiment bouncing on its butt. They watched as the experiment got onto the diving board before jumping into the pool. Their eyes then widened as the water rose up like a big tidal wave. Take cover. Naruto yelled as he grabbed Lilo and Stitch and ran behind the changing rooms. Ah! Gontu screamed as he was hit by the wave. Okay, what happened? Nanny asked as she came out of the changing room in her swimsuit and saw the pool area looked like a tsuno had hit it. North Shore's got nothing on that. Lilo said as him and Lilo came out from behind the changing room. Oh. Gontu groaned as he was on the ground before Stitch grabbed 3 life preservers and slammed them onto him before he then rolled off. What happened? Nanny asked as she ran to Lilo to check on her. Nothing much, just an experiment that turned the pool into a tidal wave, Naruto said. Great, Nanny groaned as she was actually looking forward to this outing. Stitch chased the experiment as it was up in a tree eyeballing the ocean. I don't like the way it's looking at our ocean, Lilo said. Okay, you two go after it and I'll go get information from Jumba, Naruto said to Lilo and Stitch. You got it. Lilo said with a smile as she went to leave but noticed Stitch was not with her. Where'd Stitch go? Naruto asked. Nanny said as she pointed at a nearby table where Stitch was trying to talk to an attractive woman. Stitch has a type? Naruto asked, finding this really odd. Cake. Stitch yelled, eyeballing the cake the workers put on a table after he was seen hitting on a woman. 1 coconut cake for Mr. and Mrs. Uzumaki. The manager said before yelling, seeing the messed up pool area. What happened? Oh, the boss is going to kill me, he said. Mrs. Nanny yelled in shock. You guys got married and didn't tell me? Lilo asked with a teasing grin as she knew they didn't get married. Oh, get going. Naruto said with a roll of his eyes. Stitch was trying to dig his claws into the table but Naruto pried him loose and tossed him away while Lilo followed Stitch. Back at Nanny's house. Mrs., they thought I was your wife. Nanny said as she and Naruto went into the house. Yes, sorry about that, Naruto said with a nervous chuckle. I can't believe they'd be that stupid. What, is there something wrong with that? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Huh? Oh. No. No. Of course not. Well. Nanny said as she trailed off, not knowing how to answer this. Whiskered blonde, you here for info about new experiment? Chmlumba asked, entering the room. Nanny sighed in relief at the distraction from this awkward conversation. What do you know about an experiment that loves water and has a big fat butt? Naruto asked as he put the coconut cake on the kitchen table. Experiment that is loving of water and with large, that would be 520, designed to turn any body of water into raging tidal wave, Jumba said. Nanny gained a worried look at this as she didn't like the idea of this. You made a tsunami experiment, and it's on an island in the middle of the blasted ocean? Yes, if 520 were to reach ocean, would make tidal waves so great it'd wipe out everything on planet H. Hahaha. Oh, that would be bad, Jumba said, seeing Naruto's face. You think? Naruto yelled as he ran to the door and ran out. If Lilo is hurt, I swear he'll dash. Relax, Nanny. Naruto is agent sent to help Lilo with experiments, Pleakley said as he came into the room. He's a what now? Nanny yelled in surprise. He is secret agent working under same people like bald shade wearing male in suit, Jumba said as he left the room. Though he said his mission is only to help Lilo, Pleakley said as he went into the kitchen. Nanny said nothing at this as this was a lot to take in all at once. The beach. Naruto panted for breath as he found Lilo with the experiment and Stitch as he saw the various sand sculptures on the beach Lilo were supposed to keep. 520 away from the ocean, he said as he ran over. Cannonball, Lilo said, correcting Naruto as she pet said experiment, who smiled happily. That name actually fits, nice, but what are you doing? Naruto said. I'm showing Cannonball how nice the beach is if he doesn't go so crazy with the waves, Lilo said. Yaga. Beach nice, Stitch said as he made a sandcastle over Cannonball, who was laying on the beach smiling. And here I was worried and ran all the way from your house thinking he would drown the planet, Naruto said with a sigh. Aga Zuta. Stitch yelled before he made a giant sand fortress as Gontu walked up. Don't you ever take a break? Naruto asked with a groan. I would, but Hamstervale won't let me, Gontu said before he looked at the sandcastle. Go away, you big dummy. Lilo yelled from the top of the sandcastle. Don't think this fortress, wait a minute, this thing's just made of loosely compressed silicate. Gantu said before he began to push on the sand fortress. Naruto was ready to step in, but Cannonball bounced down and was heading for the ocean with Gantu giving chase. Oh no! I thought Cannonball was our friend, Lilo said with a frown as Cannonball dropped into the ocean. Tsunami, everybody run! Moses yelled. Oh Blitznack, Gantu yelled before the wave hit him yet didn't hit anyone else. Nani tsu! Cannonball said with a laugh as he bounced out of the water. Huh, so you can control yourself, Naruto said as he approached the experiment with a smile, glad this experiment was friendly now. And I know just where you belong, there are plenty of beaches where they could use some good waves, Lilo said as she smiled at Cannonball. And I know just the beach, Mr. Wong better appreciate the business we're making for that hut, Naruto said a smile. He did indeed fire Nani but wanted to make it up to the man for what Julio did. Cannonball smiled at this and nodded, ready to help. Cowabunga! Stitch yelled. Later. Nani, Lilo, and Stitch at the beach surfing as Cannonball made waves for the beachgoers. Cowabunga baby, surfing the tunnel. Naruto set out on the water surfing. Lilo was sitting on the beach with Nani and looked up at her sister, seeing the look Nani was sending at Naruto. So how long before he becomes my big brother, she teased. Be quiet. Nani said, looking away with a blush. It's 'cause you saw him shirtless, huh? Lilo asked with a smile. Ah, the smoochy smoochy. Ahahaha. Stitch cackled at this. Stop teasing me or you won't get a piece of that coconut cake when we get home, Nani said with a glare at Stitch. Ah, Jubata. Stitch said, holding his hands to his head. Plus I don't know if I can trust him anyway, Nani said with a frown as she didn't know what to think now that she knew Naruto was an agent. Why not? He saved me when Cannonball made the wave at the pool, he's always there for me, Lilo said. Friend and friend is a hona, Stitch said. You found out he was an agent, didn't you? Lilo asked. Yep. Nani said as she nodded. He didn't want to tell you because he was scared you would think he was going to take me away, Lilo said as she knew Nani would worry about that. Nani sighed at this as she did remember that Naruto had said she was a great guardian for Lilo. Okay fine, I'll still be his friend, she said as she nodded. Do you think we could get him to move in? He likes our couch, he could sleep on it, Lilo said. Let's not go nuts, Nani said with a chuckle at her little sister who just pouted. Ah! Naruto yelled as he wiped out. I am okay, he said. Walk it off, rookie, as a agent you should not whine so much, Nani said with a smile as Naruto approached them. Pleakley told you, didn't he? Naruto asked after a moment of silence. Him and Jumba. Nani said simply. I didn't want to scare you. I know how terrifying it'd be if you met some agent from the same group that tried to take your sister, and I didn't want to bring that back up, Naruto said. It's fine, Naruto, you have done nothing but help, so we're still friends. Just make sure you keep Lilo and Stitch out of trouble with those experiments, Nani said, hoping to put Naruto at ease. Kinda hard to do that, but I'll protect them with my life, Naruto said with a nod. Nani nodded at this as she knew she could trust Naruto. Is this the part where you two kiss? Lilo asked curiously, making Naruto and Nani blush. Show a kid one romance movie and she thinks she knows how romance works, Nani said as she shook her head at her little sister's antics. I blame the mouse, Naruto grumbled out as Nani, Lilo and Stitch laughed at this. With Naruto. Naruto was at his restaurant getting ready to open for the day. Today was Nani's first day as manager, and today Naruto was gonna walk her through her job. As Naruto was changing the door sign from closed to open, Nani burst into the room panting for breath. Sorry I'm late, Nani panted as she tried to catch her breath after running here so she wouldn't be late. Bad morning? Naruto asked as he chuckled at her as he figured something happened. A little bit. Stitch tried to make Lilo breakfast, Nani said as she patted down her hair. Aw, that's cute, Naruto said as he smiled. With a blowtorch, Nani said as she put on an apron. Okay, Naruto said as he sweat dropped at this. So that set me back a bit, Nanny said as she sighed, as it was a rough morning for her, especially in cleaning up after Stitch. Nervous? Naruto asked her with a small amused chuckle. I'd be lying if I said no, Nanny said as she took a few breaths to calm herself. Don't worry, you'll be fine. I have utmost trust in you. Naruto said with a smile. That makes one of us, Nanny said as she patted down her apron. Ah, you're gonna do great. If you can somewhat handle a sister like Lilo and a dog from space, this should be a cakewalk for you, Naruto said as he gave Nanny a name tag which had her name and the word manager on it. Well, let's get started, Nanny said as she put on her name tag. Alright, let me show you all that you'll be doing, Naruto said before he started to instruct Nanny. A few hours later. Naruto finished showing her everything as they arrived back in the main room. And that's about it. I know you can do it, Naruto said as he smiled at Nanny. Thanks for the encouragement, Nanny said with a smile back at him. Suddenly Nanny's cell phone went off ringing. Oh, what now? Nanny groaned as she took out her phone. Go ahead and answer it, Naruto said as he nodded, knowing it may be important. Nanny nodded before she answered her phone and went into the back room. Naruto watched as Nanny talked, and as she talked she gained an exasperated look on her face before she talked some more and hung up and walked back towards him. Lilo? Naruto asked. Yes, Stitch made a mess of Miss Hisagawa's fruit stand, Nanny said as she wanted to take off her apron. I'll go get them, you stay here and take care of the restaurant, Naruto said as he took off his apron. Really? Nanny asked with a raised eyebrow as she paused. Hey, I am her sitter after all. Naruto said as he took off his apron and left through the front door. Fruit stand. Naruto approached the fruit stand and saw Lilo and Stitch waiting with a man in a cop uniform. This was Officer Kahiko. What happened? Naruto asked. Stitch had coffee. Lilo said simply while Stitch was shaking from the caffeine. Ah, enough said, Naruto said with a chuckle. Where's Nanny? Officer Kahiko asked. Oh, I'm Lilo's babysitter and a friend of the family, so I'll take it from here. Naruto said. Thanks Naruto, Lilo said. Ah, you're the one with the new ramen restaurant, Officer Kahiko said with a nod of understanding. That's me. Naruto said. Oh hey Weirdlo, Myrtle said as she approached, with a dog. Hey Myrtle, since when did you have a dog? Lilo asked. Mom found her at the dog shelter, her name's Gigi, we're gonna enter the dog contest on Honolulu, Myrtle said. Stitch started to sniff at the dog who started to bark at him. Naruto flinched at this as the dog's bark was really shrill. You dog has some lungs, Naruto said as he rubbed Gigi's neck, who stopped barking and rolled onto her back panting as she kicked her leg, liking the treatment. So you're gonna enter a dog show? Lilo asked curiously. Yeah, they only take the best, not some riffraff, Myrtle said as she looked at Stitch, who was still shaking from the caffeine. Stitch is not a riffraff, he could win that dog contest hands down, Lilo said with her arms crossed. Could not. Myrtle said. Could too. Alright, let's break it up, since Lilo's taken care of I'll head back out, Kahiko said as he went back to his police car and drove off. Who's a loud barking puppy, you are? Naruto said as Gigi was absolutely loving the rubbing. Not in the dirt, great, now I have to give her another bath, Myrtle said as she picked Gigi up and left. Loud puppy. Stitch said, rubbing his ears. Yeah, so are you when you make breakfast with a blowtorch, Naruto said with a knowing look. Ehehehe, Stitch laughed nervously as he rubbed the back of his head. Nanny told you about this morning, huh? Lilo said as her and Stitch followed Naruto. Yep, kinda nice for Myrtle having a pet, maybe it'll help her attitude, Naruto said with a smile. I'm so going to enter Stitch into that dog contest, Lilo said with a determined look. Ain't that considered cheating? Besides, he's more koala than dog, Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Stitch is considered a dog, so technically no, Lilo said as Stitch nodded. Really? Naruto asked, finding this kinda odd. When people ask I tell them he's a rare blue-furred ectoplasmic detection dog, Lilo said simply. And they buy it? Naruto asked raising his eyebrow. So far they have, Lilo said with a smile. Naruto shook his head at this. Well, when we get to the restaurant you can ask Nanny about the contest, he said as they walked. You left Nanny in charge on her first day? Lilo asked curiously. That's how much I trust her. She's a remarkable woman, Naruto said with a smile. Oh, Yaga Nanny's Buchibo. Stitch said as he cackled. Stitch says you're Nanny's boyfriend, Lilo said with a smile. Ah, what does he know about love? Only thing he'd get is another experiment, and there haven't been a lot of lookers lately, Naruto said, making Stitch growl. Why Yaga? Stitch said before he grabbed a coconut and threw it at Naruto. Who caught it without even turning to him? Boo-hoo. Stitch and Lilo said with wide eyes at this. CIA Fluffy, Naruto said with a chuckle as he spun the coconut on his finger to show off a bit. Hey, I had a question, Lilo said as she held up her hand. Yeah? Naruto asked as he put his coconut down. When we find all of Stitch's cousins, are you gonna leave? Lilo asked curiously. Probably not. What started as a mission really became something special, especially with you. Me? Lilo asked. Curiously. You remind me of my little sister Himawari. I haven't seen her or my parents in a while. You'd love her, she could befriend the very earth, the trees, and the ocean if she could, Naruto said with a chuckle as he led Lilo and Stitch down the sidewalk. Jabu? Stitch said as he and Lilo looked at each other. Do you miss them? Lilo asked. Every day, Naruto said as he nodded. The restaurant. Honolulu, I don't have that kinda money, Nanny said as she placed some bowls of ramen in front of Lilo, who readied her chopsticks while Stitch dunked his head in his bowl. Oh, no problem, I can take her. I got more than enough to cover it. I can take Jumba and Pleakley too. 7 eyes are better than 2, Naruto said as he gave Stitch a napkin, which he ate after cleaning himself off. Alright, but you don't let her out of your sight for a minute, Nanny said as she nodded. No problem, I'll look after her like I used to watch my little sister, Naruto said as he smiled at Lilo, who smiled back. You have a little sister too, small world, Nanny said as she went back to work. Eat then, I can go get the tickets and you can pack, Naruto said to Lilo. Yay! Lilo said as she raised her arms happily before she started to eat. Few hours later at Nanny's house. So what is point of this trip? Jumba asked as he watched Naruto help Lilo pack her bag. Lilo wants to rub in Myrtle's face. Stitch is better than her dog Gigi, Naruto said flatly. Ptah. Of course my 626 is superior to common Earth Canine, Jumba said proudly as Stitch easily packed his own bag. Ooh, I can't wait to hit the shopping areas. Honolulu has some of Hawaii's greatest shopping centers, Pleakley said wearing a sundress and a sun hat. Pleakley, you need money to buy things, Naruto said. No worries, I have 16 credit cards, Pleakley said with a smile as he held out his wallet. Naruto gave the alien a flat look at this. Pleakley, credit cards will require money down the road, he said. No they don't, I saw it on TV, you swipe them through the thing and it works instead of cash, Pleakley said with a smile. Yeah, but you have to pay later, Naruto explained to the alien. Ah. That makes sense, Jumba said with a nod as he was wondering how that worked. So I bought these for nothing? Pleakley asked as he gestured to his cards. Not if you want to be in debt forever, Naruto said as he handed Lilo her toothbrush to pack. Boo, been in debt once, wasn't pleasant, Jumba said with a shiver. Don't worry, I'll pay and you can get a few souvenirs, Naruto said to Pleakley. Awesome. Pleakley said with a smile. Now let's go kick Myrtle's butt and her black-eyed white-furred dog too, Lilo said as she zipped up her bag. Black eyes, white fur, Jumba said as he rubbed his chin in thought. Come on. Pleakley said as he pulled Jumba along. Few hours later. Wow, bigger place than home island, Jumba said looking at all the tall buildings as they got off the plane. Stitch looked at the city and ran down the stairs and looked at it. Ehehehe. Stitch laughed as he looked at the city, excited as he grew his extra arms and antenna. Oh right, forgot, 626 is programmed to destroy large cities, Jumba said. Oh no you don't, Lilo has been looking forward to this and you wouldn't want to ruin this for her now would you? Naruto asked as he picked up the transformed Stitch. Yeah, you're a good boy, right Stitch? Lilo asked Stitch. Stitch paused at this, Double he said as he retracted his arms and antenna as Naruto put him down. Good, here. Naruto said as he tossed up a dumpling that Stitch caught and ate with gusto. Stitch said, rubbing his cheeks. Now keep being good and don't break stuff and I'll give you more. Naruto said as he patted Stitch on the head. Stitch nodded at this as they all went to call a cab. Later. After they had checked into a hotel, Naruto, Lilo and Stitch were in line to register Stitch for the dog show while Jumba and Pleakley were off shopping, after Naruto pried all the Cyclops aliens' credit cards out of his hands. Next, the woman at the registration desk said as Lilo and Stitch approached. Hello, she's looking to register her dog into the contest, Naruto said as he pointed at Lilo and Stitch. What kind of breed is he? The woman asked with a raised eyebrow as Stitch picked his nose with his tongue. A rare blue-furred ectoplasmic detection dog, Lilo said as she squirted Stitch with a water bottle so he would stop picking his nose. So rare you probably won't find him in any books anymore, Naruto added as he winked at Lilo, who smiled. You're actually entering, your disconfigured terrier doesn't stand a chance, Weirdlo, Myrtle said as she walked up holding Gigi. Myrtle, if you call her that again I'm gonna tell your mom, Naruto said with a firm tone, having enough. What? Myrtle yelled in surprise at this as she didn't expect Naruto to make this threat. Just because she's happy with her kind of life doesn't mean you have to take it out on her, Naruto said as he patted Lilo on the head. Besides, Stitch is entering all 3 contests, not like Gigi could stand against him in all of them, Lilo said with a challenging look. Myrtle Edmonds never turns down a challenge and neither does Gigi. Register us for all the contests too, Myrtle told the lady. Oh boy, there's just no winning with you two, Naruto groaned as he face-palmed. Myrtle huffed as she walked off. There is something so familiar about dolled-up small canine, just have trouble remembering what, Jumba said as he scratched his head. Like what? You made an experiment that rolls over, jumps and has a shrill bark? Naruto asked with a sarcastic tone. Ha. That is it, that is my experiment 007. Jumba said. You're kidding, Naruto said as he looked at Jumba with a raised eyebrow. Could not recognize after so much brushing and ribbons, very early experiment, designed to annoy neighbors with shrill barking, Jumba said as he shook his head confirming he was telling the truth. You mean Myrtle has an experiment as a dog, you're going up against one of your earliest cousins Stitch, Lilo said to Stitch, who smiled and nodded. And that means Gontu, how does he track these guys down anyway? Naruto asked. He has experiment container that alerts him when experiment is activated, Jumba said simply. Well, that explains how he knows when they're active, but how does he find them? Naruto asked curiously. Gontu was a captain in the Galactic Alliance which he earned, so he's an expert tracker amongst other things, Pleakley said. He got fired when we tried too hard trying to take Stitch from me, Lilo said. So now he works for Dr. Hamsterville, the very person who gave me the funding for all 626 of my experiments, Jumba said, explaining the situation. Who's in prison? Pleakley added. Please tell me this guy is not just some annoying as heck hamster that talks, Naruto said as he had a feeling this was the case. Yes, Hamstervale is known to annoy all people with his voice and constant nagging, but is nothing more than walking talking earth hamster with cape, Jumba said. So he's a shorty and a loud mouth, got it, Naruto said as he nodded. Why do you think he needs my experiments? By himself Hamstervale is all squawk and no talk, Jumba said with a laugh. I'll be sure to remember that if I ever see him now, you go do your dog show, I'll stick close in case Gontu shows up, Naruto said. You're gonna miss it? Lilo asked as she frowned. Nah, I'm gonna watch, but I won't be there to coach you if something goes wrong. I got full faith in you too. Go get Naruto said as he walked away to scope the place out. Blonde earth male makes a good big brother figure, no? Jumba said as him and Pleakley followed Lilo and Stitch. Indeed, Pleakley said as he nodded. Let's go show Myrtle and her experiment who's the best of them all, Lilo said. Yay! Stitch said as he nodded, ready to prove himself. Good idea for him to leave now. With contest starting tomorrow he will learn all exits and entrances Gantu may use, Jumba said as he liked the idea of Naruto planning ahead. He'd have made a good captain in the alliance for sure, Pleakley said. The next morning. Lilo grunted as she laid in her bed as the alarm goes off. Hey, wake up, you're gonna be late, up. Naruto said yelling as he walked into the room. Lilo gasped as she lifted her head off the bed and looked at the time. We overslept. She yelled out. Get ready, you have breakfast for you, Naruto said as he pulled Stitch's blanket off him. Naga. Stitch yelled as he hid under a pillow. If you get up I'll give you an entire coconut cake when we get home, Naruto said. Stitch's ears perked up before he launched himself onto the ceiling. Let's go kick Myrtle's butt, Lilo said as she smiled at her friend. Coconut cake. Stitch shouted as he literally ran through the door, leaving a hole shaped like himself in it. Don't worry, my money's good for that, Naruto said nonchalantly. You can afford that? Lilo asked curiously as they both followed Stitch. Lilo, if there's anything my mother taught me it's the good of the green and how to make lots of it, Naruto said with a smirk. Better go get set up perimeter, dog show is perfect place for Gantu to strike, Jumba said as Naruto and Lilo entered the living room. Why would Hamstervale want a barking dog anyway, what to annoy cops to go away? Naruto asked as he gave Lilo some cereal. Each one of my genetic experiments are genius designs of my own, any of them could do things for him, even deadly things. Speaking of deadly, have I ever told you about my experiment 000? First very attempt to make genetic weapon of destruction. You started there. Why? Naruto asked. Was very first attempt, too good an attempt, created deadly cyborg whose only function is to kill everything around him. Took me 12 Earth hours to catch and repod after activation, Jumba said. You mean to tell me there's a death machine out there? Naruto asked in a slight panic. No, number 000 was so dangerous I locked his pod up somewhere in the galaxy. Nobody could ever reactivate him, for he could possibly be the only experiment I've ever made that could match 626, Jumba said. Killer cyborg monster. Yeah, saw that movie, not wanting to live it, Naruto said as he took a bite of toast. Later at the dog show. Naruto had his gear on as he stood outside with Lilo and Stitch while Jumba and Pleakley went inside. I'm going to set up, break a leg, Naruto said as he rubbed her head. Wouldn't that hurt? Pleakley asked curiously. Metaphor, Naruto said as he stood back up. Now Stitch, I know you want to show Gigi up, but try to make sure Gantu doesn't take her from Myrtle. Don't ask me why, but I think she likes being with Myrtle, he said to Stitch, who nodded. Why would Gigi like that? Lilo asked curiously. Don't know. Maybe ask her, Naruto said as he ran off. Later. Naruto was in the rafters of the building watching the dog show while keeping an eye out for Gantu. Stitch lost the first round due to not liking the bulldog that was sniffing his butt. But he won the next round as the crowd liked how he rolled into a ball, going around the cones, walking on his hands over the placement stands and then rolling over the teeter-totter. The next round was now coming up and there was a 10-minute break for the contestants to rest up. As Naruto checked the doors, he spotted Myrtle near a coffee stand and was approaching Lilo and Stitch after she put the coffee in a water bottle. Naruto frowned at this and jumped down and made his way towards them. Can I help you? Naruto said, making Myrtle stiffen and yelp. Lilo looked at Myrtle and spotted the water bottle Myrtle was holding. You were replacing Stitch's water with coffee? Lilo said as she took it and opened it up. Naruto frowned at this and took the bottle from Myrtle. Are you that jealous of Stitch that you cheat to win? What would your mom say? what would your own father say? Naruto asked. I don't have a dad, Myrtle said sadly looking up with tears. Gigi growled at Naruto at this as she was clearly not happy Myrtle was sad. Naruto frowned at this as he was starting to put the pieces together on why Myrtle was this way. You said he moved away at class that one time, Lilo said. Oh, just like your parents moved away. Myrtle said heatedly as she sniffled. Okay Myrtle, come with me, Naruto said as he gently grabbed her hand and pulled her away from Lilo and Stitch. He then sat her down beside him in a corner. Myrtle, is your dad being gone having any reason you pick on Lilo? Naruto asked as he looked at her while she held Gigi. Myrtle said nothing at this as she frowned and looked away from Naruto. Myrtle, why would you want to pick on her, what did she ever do? It's not fair, why can't my family be like everyone else's? When my dad was around all he and mom would do is fight, then she'd take me out to buy something like nothing ever happened, Myrtle said as she tightened her hold on Gigi. Ah, so that's where the obsessive view of normalcy comes from, Naruto said. Myrtle, there you are, the next round is starting, sweetie, a older woman with the same hair and glasses as Myrtle said as she approached. Ms. Edmonds, I presume? Naruto asked the woman as he stood up. That's me, you're Naruto, right? I have heard about your restaurant around town, Ms. Edmonds said with a kind smile. Ms. Edmonds, I really think you should sit down, possibly with a counselor or psychiatrist with your daughter. Apparently your divorce has been affecting her more than you realize, taking her frustrations out on others around her, Naruto said as he calmly explained. Ms. Edmonds frowned at this as she looked at Myrtle, who was frowning at being confronted with her actions. Yippee. Gotcha. Gantu said, now holding Gigi. My dog. Myrtle cried out as Gantu put the dog in a pod. Really dude, really? In the middle of an already emotional environment here, Naruto said angrily. Hey, I need money just like you, Gantu said as he walked away. Well, that explains one of my many questions, Naruto muttered flatly. He's taking my dog, Myrtle said sadly while her mother comforted her. Ogawaada. Stitch roared as he leapt onto Gantu's face and began to scratch. Ah, get off me, you abomination. Gantu yelled as he tried to get Stitch off him, causing him to drop the pod Gigi was in, making it smash open. Thanks cousin. Gigi yelled before she ran to Myrtle. You talk. Myrtle said in shock as her dog approached. You bet. Gigi yelled happily as she jumped into Myrtle's arms. Wow, that's a talented dog, Ms. Edmonds said with a chuckle at Gigi. Say sayonara blubber butt, taking a kid's pet is the line, Naruto said as he fired his blaster at Gantu, shooting him right in the butt, sending him flying through a wall. Ow, ow, hot hot hot. Gantu said, smacking his butt as it was on fire. Stitch then roared loudly. Ah, I'm going. Gantu yelled as he ran away, a trail of smoke behind him. Naruto put away his blaster and fist bumped with Stitch, approving of his help. Gigi. Myrtle said, smiling as she hugged her dog. Not too fond of the squeezes, but I'll take them, Gigi said between said tight squeezes. You are so cool. Myrtle said with a smile at her pet. Cousins, awesome. Stitch said as he nodded while Lilo approached. Guess being weird isn't so bad, huh? Naruto asked with a smile at Myrtle. I guess not, Myrtle admitted as she looked at Naruto. You will be okay, kid, just try to do better and make sure you take care of Gigi, okay? Naruto asked. I will. I may not get you Lilo, but your dog's kinda cool, Myrtle said as he looked at Lilo. Lilo smiled at this and nodded. And you make sure you keep her happy too, Naruto said to Gigi with a smile. Can do, Gigi said with a nod. I doubt this is gonna take instantly in the whole teasing department, but it's a start, Naruto said with a smile. Don't worry, I'm on it now, Ms. Edmonds said with a nod at Naruto, knowing she would have to keep up with her daughter now. Okay, you two, now let's do this final round and do it fair, Naruto said to Lilo and Myrtle. Alright, you're on. I mean Lilo, Myrtle said, correcting herself. I won't lose easily, cousin. Gigi said with a friendly smile at Stitch. Yeah. Myrtle added with a friendly smile of her own. Good, it's not fun if it's easy, Lilo said as she nodded and smiled. Challenge. Stitch said as he nodded as the two pets followed their owners to the final round. Despite Gigi looking better, the judge decided that Stitch looked better and decided that he was the winner, giving Stitch first place trophy, but Gigi did win second place, which was enough for Myrtle. The next day, Naruto, Lilo and Stitch approached his restaurant. They came, they saw, they kicked butt. Naruto said as he walked through the doors, picking up Lilo, who held the trophy up high, laughing happily. Nanny smiled at this. Congratulations, she said, happy for her sister. And Myrtle may actually become friends with her in the future, after getting some much needed things off her chest with her mother, Naruto said. Thanks to you talking to her and her mom, Lilo said as she sat in her seat with Stitch so they could get some food. What happened? Nanny asked Naruto curiously as she went to go get some ramen for Lilo and Stitch. Well, apparently Myrtle's father and mom have a divorce, and because her mom never really talked to her about the issues, she decided to let her frustrations out on Lilo, having this divorced family not being normal, which is why she hated Lilo's uniqueness. Uniqueness, I like that, Lilo said as she smiled. Mega unique. Stitch said as he looked up with salt shakers in his nose. You sure are, Naruto said with a chuckle as he placed a full coconut cake in front of Stitch. As promised, he said with a smile. Stitch yelled as he attacked the cake, eating it with gusto. Naruto smiled before he looked at Lilo, rummaging through his phone. Hey, what are you doing, Munchkin? Naruto asked curiously. Looking for your mom's contact so you can talk to her and see your sister again, Lilo said. Give me that, Naruto said as he quickly to his phone. That's rude, Lilo, Nanny said as she placed a bowl of ramen in front of Lilo. But he kept talking about his sister and mom. If he misses them so much he should call to see them. After all, I'd miss my Ohana if I was away from them, Lilo said. Yeah, you say that, but if you knew my mom you would know why I'm not calling her yet, Naruto said with a shudder. Bok 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 bok, bok bok. Stitch said, walking like a chicken on the table while his face was covered in frosting. Oh look, it's a water monster. Naruto said as he pointed behind Stitch. Oh. Water la cuesta. Stitch yelled as he went under the table to hide. Naruto laughed at this along with Lilo while Nanny sighed but smiled a little. Do you really miss your sister that much? Nanny asked curiously as she got back to work. Well, of course I do, Naruto said, deciding to be honest. So, call and have her come to Hawaii, Nanny said as she took Lilo and Stitch's empty bowls. No, it's too soon, besides she'd bring my mom and I have to prepare for her and that'll take weeks, Naruto said. Oh, she can't be that bad, Nanny said as she shook her head. Trust me, she is, always wanting me to settle down and give her grandkids, Naruto said. What's wrong with that? Lilo asked curiously as she didn't see the problem. Nothing when I want to do it on my own time, Naruto said as he shook his head. Pleakley knows how that feels. When Spooky was his mom she kept going on about him being married, Lilo said. Trust me, my mom is worse, Naruto said with a shudder at the idea of his mom showing up. A few days later. Naruto was at Nanny's place today since he had an idea for a gadget that could help and he was asking Jumba in his room to make it. Reactor cable to the, Jumba said as he jumped up from his workbench. Not that wire, he groaned, getting zapped. Is it always like this with your inventions? Naruto asked as he sat down on a chair nearby. Not all of time, but it's a slow day today, Pleakley said as he walked by the door as he swept the floor. Aha! OTS done. Jumba yelled as he ignored Pleakley's dig at him. Wow, it was that easy? Naruto asked curiously as he looked at what looked like a wristwatch with a small metal pod on the top. Easy to make this for evil genius, Jumba said as he handed the watch to Naruto. What did you make this time? Pleakley asked with a groan. Naruto showed it to Pleakley after he put it on. A watch. Pleakley asked in confusion. Not just watch it mini version of experiment container, it will alert whiskered blonde when experiment is activated, Jumba said with a proud smile. Now I'll be able to know whenever one is activated. Naruto said with a smile. That's it? Not even info on what it is? Pleakley asked. It does that too. What, do I look like a second-rate evil genius? Jumba asked, sounding insulted. Suddenly the watch on Naruto's wrist activated and lit up. Warning: experiments 501 and 502 activated, primary functions lava blasts and fires jets of high-pressured water, the watch said as it showed an image of a red experiment on all fours and what looked like a light blue squid. Oh no, all 500 class of experiments are all elementals, we must catch 501 and 502 before they come together, Jumba said as he got up and went into his closet. What will happen if they meet? Naruto asked as Jumba handed him a new blaster. No idea, but do know it will result in massive release of quantum energy, Jumba said as he handed Naruto some sticky grenades. Well, when lava and water meet it usually makes solid rock, Naruto said as he readied his blaster and grenades. Jumba got on his computer and gasped in confirmation. Yes, lava and water when meeting is explosive but creates new solid land. Can't believe I forgot this, Jumba said. It's basic science, Jumba, Naruto said as he chuckled at the genius forgetting that. Hey, maybe their one true place are being island makers, Pleakley said. That's a good idea, I'll pitch it to Lilo. Wait, where are Lilo and Stitch? Naruto asked as he realized he hadn't seen them today. Just then they came in, one being slightly charged and Lilo being soaked. Ah, you met 501 and 502, haha. Jumba asked as he laughed. Pucha, yada gada. Stitch yelled as he shook his fur. You almost got 501 but little girl got in way. Jumba translated. Yeah right, you were hurting him, big bully, I would have caught him if you weren't busy tying his tentacles up, Lilo said, upset at being blamed. Oh boy, Naruto groaned as he pinched his nose. Det buchi you. Stitch yelled as he pointed at Lilo. 626 says he would be able to catch genetic experiment if you weren't in way, Jumba said as he chuckled. Would not. Lilo yelled at Stitch. Gabuchi Bay. Stitch yelled back. Would not. Lilo yelled, getting in Stitch's face. What is going on with you two today? Naruto asked as he grabbed them both and separated them. Sibling rivalry, Pleakley said with a nod. Naruto and Jumba looked at Pleakley with flat looks at this. What? I grew up with a brother and sister, I would know, Pleakley said with a shrug. Everything was going good today until Stitch ate my surfboard wax, saying I couldn't wax it without him, Lilo said. Okay, you two, this rivalry thing is ridiculous, you two are a team, you balance each other out, Naruto said as he put them both down. Yeah, David said that, talked about yin and yang, Lilo said. Well, he's right, you both have talents that help each other. But 626 has point, he could easily catch experiment without little girl, Jumba said. Yeah right, Lilo's the brains, natural human extincts, Pleakley said. Jumba, Pleakley, hush or I'm calling your ex-wife and mom, Naruto said firmly. I will be doing the shutting up, Jumba said as he shuddered at this threat. Then should we call yours? Lilo gave us her number, see? Pleakley said, showing his phone. You do that and I'll tie your antenna in several knots, Naruto said with a glare. Ah. And you, why did you give my mom's number out? Stitch said it would be a good idea and I want to meet your Ohana. Naruto smiled at this and patted Lilo on the head, you're sweet Lilo and I promise you will someday, now let's go catch 501 and 502 as a team, okay? He said as he looked at her and then Stitch. Let's call them Yin, that's 501 and Yang, that's 502, Lilo said with a smile. Perfect, now let's go, Naruto said as he led the way out. Mega Drive, vroom vroom. Stitch yelled as he laughed and ran past Naruto outside. How can he drive? Naruto asked curiously as they followed him outside. Customized buggy. Jumba said simply. Of course, well thanks for the watch, Jumba. Naruto said as he nodded at the alien. You are welcome, Jumba SSID as Naruto followed Lilo and Stitch. I bet Naruto catches them both. Pleakley said as he figured Naruto had the better training. Ba little girl has 626 genetically superior creation team will catch 501 and 502, Jumba said as he shook his head. Let's spice this up then. Pleakley said with a grin. Aha, loser of bet has to do dreaded Glockner ceremonial dance. Jumba said with a smirk. Ah, you mean the dance of 1,000 hours? Pleakley said surprised at the stakes at this bet. That very one, or is big one I scared like little bok creature that crosses the road. Jumba said as he wiggled his arms like a chicken. Deal. Pleakley said as they shook hands. With Naruto. After Naruto, Lilo and Stitch had made it into town, they had decided to split up with Lilo and Stitch sticking together while Naruto was on his own looking around for any trace of Yin or Yang. Naruto slowly made his way through the trees trying to find Yin or Yang when he tripped on something. Hey, watch it buddy, I'm sleeping here, a voice said. Sorry, Naruto stopped when he saw it was a pudgy dark yellow furred experiment that looked similar to Stitch. Ah, it's you. Hi, the experiment said as he waved. Since when was there 3 experiments activated? I didn't get an alert on you. Naruto said as he looked at his watch. Oh, you don't know me. Hi, my name is 625 and my primary function is a sandwich maker. I have all the abilities of Stitch but don't have any motivation to use them. 625 said nicely. Oh yeah, Lilo mentioned you calls you sandwich boy, Naruto said with a chuckle. Hey, if anything I'm a sandwich man. 625 said with a smile. So you're Gantu's sidekick? Naruto asked curiously. More like a roommate, I just sit at home while he does the cleaning, the grocery shopping, everything while I sit and eat my sandwiches. 625 said. Huh, no wonder he's grumpy all the time, Naruto said as he frowned as he would be grumpy-eyed he had a lazy roommate. What? It's not my fault I'm programmed with no motivation. 625 said as he shrugged. You know. I'm gonna call you Ruben, you could probably do well in my restaurant making your sandwiches for others to eat. Naruto said. Wait, you're actually gonna give me a name? This make me a official cousin, the now named Ruben asked curiously. Well yeah, I mean I got to call you something besides Lilo would have done it sometime herself. Naruto said with a shrug. So you have a restaurant? Ruben asked curiously. Indeed I do, and I have been looking to add more to the menu and sandwiches sound good to me, Naruto said with a grin. Would it be nice to actually help Gantu with money among other things? It might get him to treat you better. Naruto said. Okay, I'll take the job, you have yourself a sandwich maker. Sounds good, just remember my restaurant is a neutral zone with this whole experiment hunting thing, Naruto said as he wanted to be clear with his new employee. Ruben opened his mouth only to watch as Yin and Yang ran between them with Gantu after them with Lilo and Stitch not far behind. Wait for me you big dummy. Lilo yelled after Gantu. That's my K. Naruto said as he took off after the experiments. And I'll just stay here. Ruben said as he sat back down. Naruto quickly caught up to Gantu and threw a sticky grenade at his feet, trapping him in pink goo. Whoa! Gantu said as he face-planted as Lilo and Stitch ran past him after Yin and Yang. Sorry big man, but can't let you take those 2 to hamster boy, Naruto said as he ran past Gantu to catch up with Lilo and Stitch. Hamster boy, I have to remember that one, Gantu said chuckling. Naruto chuckled at this. I'll turn him good yet, he thought to himself as he spotted Stitch firing his gunk blaster at Yang, plugging his back so he couldn't fire lava. When he saw Yang's mouth open and glow, he threw a sticky grenade to close the experiment's mouth. Sorry little guy, lava is not something to play with, Naruto said as Stitch put Yang in a capture pod. They later found Yin using the water from a hose to blast Stitch, but Lilo and Naruto turned the water off, cutting him off from water, leaving him vulnerable to capture. Gotcha! Naruto yelled as he grabbed Yin and put him in a capture container. So which team did the experiment catching? Jumba asked as him obliquely approached them. All of us, Lilo said with a smile at Stitch and Naruto. Oh that is not good, Jumba said with a frown. According to intergalactic betting laws and the result of a tie, we both lose, Pleakley said with horror on his face. You morons still made a bet? Naruto asked as he helped Stitch put Yin and Yang's pods on the back of the buggy. Yes, now we both have to do 1,000-hour Glockner dance, Jumba said with a groan as him and Pleakley looked down at the ground in defeat. Wow, you aliens don't mess around with bets, Naruto said with a chuckle. Nanny's house. Naruto and Stitch were rolling in laughter as Jumba and Pleakley were danced in disco-style clothes dancing with afros on their heads. Shake that funky Glockner 4 eyes. Pleakley sang. You are dancing witless Glockner too. We're glocking for 1,000 hours, stick out your Glockner and shake it till your glocka through. They sang together. I love alien stuff, Naruto said as he wiped a tear away from his face. Lilo giggled at this as she looked at Yin and Yang. I think we may have a place for you too thanks to Naruto, she said as she smiled at the experiments. Edge of Island. Naruto, Lilo and Stitch were sitting on the cliff watching at Yin and Yang work together to slowly make more land for the island. So Lilo, you talked about. Someone named David was telling you about Yin and Yang. He's a surfer friend of Nanny's. I think she had a crush on him until you came along, Lilo said. Ouch, Naruto said with a flinch as he didn't like the idea of hurting a future couple. Don't worry, David is dating a lifeguard now, so you're free to pursue Nanny, Lilo said with a smile. Ha ha ha, get a butchie boo, moi mwa. Stitch screamed as Naruto tossed him into the water. It's shallow water, he'll be fine, Naruto said as him and Lilo looked over the cliff and saw Stitch flopping around in a shallow puddle. He looks like a beached fish, Lilo said as she giggled at her dog. And picture taken, Naruto said with a laugh. Few days later. Naruto was in his restaurant with Nanny getting ready for the day. So you are gonna sell sandwiches now and hired a guy for that? Nanny asked, finding that odd. Yup, from what I hear he's the best with sandwiches, Naruto said with a smile. Ruben reporting for duty, Ruben said as he walked through the doors. You gave him a job? Nanny asked, surprised at seeing the experiment as Lilo had told him about Ruben. Relax, he knows this is neutral grounds, Naruto said. Alright, show me the kitchen, Ruben said as he rubbed his hands. Follow me, I'm your supervisor, Nanny said as she led the way. Lead the way, boss lady, Ruben said with a nod as he followed. I have the ingredients you need, but they sent me grapes instead of grape jelly, Naruto said as he followed them. I can work with it, I can make sandwiches out of anything. Even chicken noodle soup, Ruben said with a smile as he saw all the ingredients. I'm half tempted to ask for that just to see it, Naruto said with a chuckle as whole lot it sounded good to him. Okay, let's start with the grapes, those need squishing before ether go bad, Ruben said as he approached the grapes. He actually seems to know what he's doing, Nanny said as she expected another Stitch. Well, so does Jumba, half the time. Naruto said with a chuckle. Good experiment pod, good, what the? Ruben said. Well, that's lucky, Naruto said as he took the pod since it was in his territory, so he get dibs. Let's see, 262, Naruto read as he looked at the pod. Well, we activate it and it'll bring Gontu, Nanny said sounding worried. Relax, boss lady, 262 is Jumba's secret, shame it has no evil in him, Ruben said with a laugh. Really? Naruto asked curiously as he smirked, finding this funny. He was made to make chaos among half a dozen other things, but because Jumba mixed up the wrong stuff he made a pure good experiment that acts like a superhero with superhero powers, Ruben said. Sounds like I found a partner of my own, Naruto said as he looked at the pod. He has all of me and 626's powers, super strength, can talk like me is 626, can do it, he can with some individual skills of his own like heat breath. Flight and others, Ruben said listing its capabilities. Okay, I'll go out back and release him, Nanny you're in charge, Naruto said as he nodded at Nanny and went out the back door. Nanny nodded and smiled at Naruto as he left. So you sweet on the boss or what? Ruben asked curiously. What? No. Get back to work. Nanny yelled as she blushed embarrassed. Says the woman checking out the boss's paduki, Ruben said before getting hit in the face with salami. Wow, this is the good stuff. Whiskers knows his ingredients, he said with a smile as he ate the salami. With Naruto. Naruto walked over to the storm drain and found a small puddle of water. Alright buddy, it's your time to shine. Naruto dropped the pot in the puddle and it glowed before a figure flew up before hitting the ground in a pose like Iron Man. Naruto looked at 262 and saw that he looked kinda like Stitch, only his fur was light red with some white and yellow. Hello fair citizen, no need to worry, for I am here. 262 said with a grin as he struck a heroic pose. Huh, loves to pose huh, Naruto muttered. Indeed it puts people at ease. 262 said with a smile. This is cool, Naruto said with a laugh. Cold. Allow me to warm you back up with my heat breath, 262 said as he took in a deep breath and let out some warm air around Naruto. That was some hot breath and I thought my morning breath had heat, Naruto said. I can also hold gallons of water in my cheeks, 262 said as he stretched his cheeks out like he was a cartoon character. A real ace aren't ya? That's what we'll call you ace, Naruto, Naruto said as he smiled at the experiment. Ah. A fine name. What do you require of me? Well, I'm helping 626 aka Stitch find the rest of your cousins so we can turn them good. Do you think you could be my partner and help me? Naruto asked as he smiled at the experiment. Gladly young man. Ace said with a grin. Cool, I'll take you to go meet Stitch after work, so why don't you go around town and help people for now? Naruto said as he figured he should let Ace help people in town when he's not helping him. Gladly. Ace said as he took off running into town. That's gotta be the easiest one yet, Naruto said with a chuckle as he went back inside the restaurant. The restaurant. It was a busy day at the restaurant and Naruto and Nanny were working hard to get orders to the customers. Hup 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 hup. Ace said as he jogged past them holding stacks of bowls. Heads up cousin, we have a grilled cheese ready to go. Ruben yelled as he tossed a fresh plate of food to Ace from the kitchen. Thank you. Ace said as he tossed the bowls expertly into the kitchen and into the sink before taking the plate. Glad I activated him, super speed really helps with the lunch rush. Naruto said. Yeah, maybe you can make Ace a dlvry boy, Nanny said as she smiled while she gave a plate to a table. Ah CRP, Naruto groaned as he looked at his watch as it flashed. Experiment 601 activated primary function hand-to-hand combat, the watch said as it showed what looked like a purple alien with 4 arms. Duty calls. Ace said as he took off his apron. Yup, time for you to meet Lilo and your cousin Stitch, Naruto said as he smiled. Let's Ace ran into the door as he rubbed his nose. Haha, I forgot it's pull not push. He said as he rubbed his nose and opened the door. Wait for me, we can drive there, Naruto said before he looked at Nanny. You're in charge, Nanny, he said before he took off after the eager to help experiment. Nanny nodded at this as she knew she could handle this. Later. Naruto was driving his truck while Ace was sitting on the roof of the truck keeping a lookout for 601. Aha! I see him. He's beating up the one you call Gontu. Ace said as he pointed. Wah! Gontu yelled as he got tossed into the distance. Ha ha hi hi. 601 said before he turned around to look at Stitch, who just showed up along with Lilo. You may think you're tough, but Stitch is way stronger than you, Lilo said as she smiled. Stitch suddenly burped as he dropped to the ground. 601 laughed at this before he punched his palms and approached Stitch ready to beat him up. Halt my purple relative, no need to fear Stitch, for I am here. Ace said as he dropped in front of 601 blocking his way. God, I'm starting to regret letting him watch Emichi, Naruto groaned as he face-planted. You have a experiment now? Lilo asked curiously. Lilo meet 262 aka Ace, Jumba's, black sheep if you will. The only experiment designed for good instead of evil. Hi hi. 601 yelled as he growled at Ace. I don't want to hurt you cousin but I won't let you bully people, Ace said as he cracked his knuckles. 601 then yelled out as he attacked Ace tackling him into the forest nearby. Stitch then burped again as he rolled into a tree. What's wrong with Stitch? Naruto asked as he approached Stitch along with Lilo while Ace handled 601. I don't know, he's been acting weird ever since he ate Kioni's shoe and macadamias, Lilo said. Cha-cha Buddha, Stitch said falling over again as he got up. Ace can keep 601 busy, let's get you looked at, Naruto said as he picked Stitch up. How do you know? Lilo asked curiously as she didn't know anything about Ace. Ace has all of Stitch's powers plus his own, he can keep Kicks busy, Naruto said as he placed Stitch on his shoulder. Kicks? Lilo asked curiously as they approached Naruto's truck. What he's programmed for hand-to-hand combat, he kicks but so kicks makes sense to me. I like it, come on Stitch let's let Jumba look at you, Lilo said as Naruto placed Stitch in the back of the truck. Before Naruto could get in his truck Ace was thrown at his feet while Kicks laughed before he ran off. I am okay. Ace said as he got up. He beat you? Lilo asked curiously. Indeed it would seem my cousin fights dirty, Ace said with a frown. We'll get even later, for now let's get Stitch looked at, Naruto said as he and Lilo got into the truck while Ace got on the roof. Lilo's house. Everyone but Ace was in Jumba's room where Stitch was attached to a machine that was doing a diagnostic scan of him. Ugh, that's all in his stomach, no wonder he's sick, Naruto said as he groaned as he looked at Jumba's computer screen. Not sick, infected, Jumba said as he looked over a large paper coming from a machine. Infected with what? Lilo asked curiously. You see 626 consumed macadamia nut and shoe, individually these two objects wouldn't do a thing but together, palmitoleic acid from nuts and the RBB formed chemical compound known as crescenite. So he's pretty much rebooted like when you have to reboot a computer? Naruto asked curiously. Ah yes, glad to see you have been studying alien knowledge, fortunately I foresaw something like this happening, now where, aha. Jumba said as he reached into his desk and pulled out a pod. Looks like we are gonna have to train Stitch, Naruto said with a sigh as he looked at Stitch. Have perfect experiment for just task thanks to little girl and 626 finding pod last week, experiment 623, Jumba said as he opened his dresser drawer and took out a experiment pod. What does this remarkable cousin do? Naruto asked curiously. 623 was designed to train my other experiments into a functional army, programmed with knowledge of every single form of hand-to-hand combat technique, only was failure when all it would do is train me night and day, Jumba said. So he's not evil? Lilo asked curiously. No I fixed that long ago after he went nuts after he trained too much, Jumba said as he shuddered at the memory. Well hello in there trainer. Lilo said to the experiment pod. Naruto smiled at this as he nodded at this name. Let us do this, Jumba said as he held up a small cup of water and dropped just a small bit of water onto it as it glowed before in a flash of light what looked like a orange bipedal cat with spikes on his back and wearing a judo black belt appeared. Pay attention, the experiment yelled in a drill sergeant voice. Hello experiment 623 welcome to Earth, Jumba said greeting his experiment. Ah Jumba still a tub of lard I see. 623 said as he looked at Jumba. Hello there trainer, it's time to do what you were made to do, we need you to retrain Stitch into the fighting machine that he was and maybe Ace too, Lilo said as she smiled at the experiment. Ace? Who is this Ace you speak of, little girl? Jumba asked curiously. That is I, Ace said as he came into the room. Ah 262. Jumba said as he jumped in surprise. You had a experiment with you this whole time? Pleekly asked Naruto. I only found him yesterday. I would have brought him over sooner but he was distracted by helping people, Naruto said as he chuckled at Ace who helped Stitch out of the scanner. Yes, my greatest failure, 262 was designed to conquer and yet with just one typed piece code he is only programmed for good, Jumba said. Well, your screw up is our gain, plus he's not perfect, he lost to kicks after all, Naruto said explaining what happened to Jumba. 601, like 623 programmed with all forms of hand-to-hand combat, not surprising, when 601 starts getting matched he will try dirty underhanded tricks to gain the upper hand, Jumba said. Yeah, and Ace is a Boy Scout so he won't fight dirty, Naruto said as he chuckled while Ace pouted. Like All Might. Lilo said as she smiled at Ace. A little too much like him if you ask me. Anyways, trainer, can you teach them how to fight and take on 601? Naruto asked. I'll make both my cousins here the perfect fighters. Okay, you two follow me. Move, 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 trainer yelled as he walked out the door. Stitch moved, but he moved backwards. May need to focus on Stitch for now, trainer, he needs relearn a lot apparently, Naruto said as he sweat dropped. A problem student. Good, I thrive with those. Trainer said before he cackled madly as he led his cousins outside. Later outside. Naruto was at a barbecue making dinner for everyone while they watched trainer train Stitch and to a lesser extent Ace. Suddenly they spotted Nanny approaching them. Absence work for the day was over. Okay, why is there a drill sergeant torturing Stitch and Ace? Nanny asked as she looked as trainer beat up Stitch. Stitch got sick eating Keone's shoe and macadamia nuts and now he has to be retrained due to being rebooted, Lilo said. Would you like to join an MDM? A little work could even out this big dash, trainer was saying as he pointed at Nanny backside before he was cut off. Cousin, we do not say such things of others, especially women, Ace said as he covered trainer's mouth. Yeah, besides Nanny gets enough of a workout keeping Lilo and Stitch in line, Naruto said as he handed a cooked burger to Nanny. What was he going to say? I'm not big, Nanny said as she nodded in thanks to Naruto. But you do have, Trainer was muffled again by Ace who pulled trainer back to Stitch before Nanny tried to go at him. I think he was gonna say you have a big butt like I do, Lilo said with a giggle as Naruto gave her her own burger. 623 doesn't hold anything back, he always says what is on his mind, Jumba said. My butt's not big, is it? Nanny asked curious as she had heard this from Lilo before but she didn't think anyone else would say that. Staying out of that conversation, Naruto said with a slight blush. It's okay to me. Big sisters are supposed to have big butts, Lilo said as ate her burger. Besides, what is wrong with large posteriors? Mine is large but you don't hear me complaining, Jumba said with a laugh. It's different for females. What if you said that to your ex-wife? Pleakley asked. Very good point my Cyclops friend, Jumba said with a shudder. I mean sure some men are into it yet when they try to say it without being rude they usually get slapped, Naruto said. And you would know how? Nanny asked with a raised eyebrow. Let's just say my dating life isn't what I'd like it to be. Ah. You got rejected, huh? Jumba asked with a laugh. Constantly, she liked some other guy and the one who did like me moved on to a dog lover buddy I know, Naruto said as he sighed before they all started to eat while trainer trained Stitch and Ace. 2 hours later. They watched Stitch roll the buggy on his legs while standing on his hands before he kicked the buggy onto its wheels. Uchuba baby. Stitch said with a grin. Oh yeah. Ace said as he expertly moved a tree in his hands like it was a bow staff. You're ready now boys, trainer said with a grin. Indeed you did a good job trainer, Lilo said as she smiled at the experiment. You could probably be a professional trainer on the island after we catch kicks, Naruto said as he gave trainer a thumbs up. Just in time too, the reporter just alerted the people about a purple pig heading for Muscle Bay, Nanny said. Yes, 601 will head for every location where strong fighters can be found, Jumba said as he nodded. Muscle Bay, where people work out. I stop by there on occasion for a quick workout, get so hot there I have to do it without a shirt on though, Naruto said. Nanny paused and blushed a little at this. Why you do this often? She asked as she composed herself. Not really, the equipment there is good, but they need a pro trainer there, Naruto said before he looked at Trainer and smiled. Trainer? Trainer repeated before he ran off. It would be good to get to this muscular bay before 623, should he and 601 clash could not be pretty sight, Jumba said. Can't Trainer beat him? Lilo asked curiously. Both are programmed with the same knowledge of combat skills, and universe would be a perfectly even fight, if not for fact that 623 prefers to use judo only, Jumba said as he shook his head. And Kicks uses kickboxing, Ace said as him Lilo and Naruto headed for Naruto's truck. Ogata, round 2 cousin, Stitch said as he followed. If you two work together you should win easily, Naruto said as he got in the truck. Shall we? Ace said as he and Stitch clasped arms. Stitch said as he nodded his head as he got into the truck. Naruto drove the truck as Ace kept up running beside it. Muscle Bay. They soon arrived at a beach, and as Naruto parked the truck they saw Kicks throwing several men out of a boxing ring. Looks like we beat Trainer here, Lilo said as her and Stitch got out of the truck. Ogata, Ladalo Cuesta. Stitch said as he jumped into the ring followed by Ace. Round 2 cousin, unless you're chicken, Ace said making Kicks growl. Nala Cuesta. Kicks yelled as he charged at Ace and Stitch. The two then did a combined uppercut, tossing Kicks out of the ring and into the weights. Before Kicks could respond, Ace jumped up and brought his elbow down on his cousin's chest before rolling off of him to the side. Gurugata you. Kicks yelled as Ace grabbed his legs and started to spinning around. Heads up Stitch. Ace yelled before he then launched him toward Stitch, who was holding a set of weights ready to smack Kicks. Oh. Kicks said before getting smacked like a baseball right into a basketball net. Kicks groaned on the ground as Naruto and Lilo approached him. You ready to stop being a bully? Naruto asked firmly. Huh? Kicks said, scratching his head in confusion. I don't think he knows what bullying is, Lilo said as she patted Kicks on the head, showing they wouldn't attack him if he didn't attack first. We can teach him later, but I know just what he can do, Trainer too. Speaking of Trainer, he just arrived riding on top of a bus. Blasted island and its no good methods of transportation. Did I miss it? Yup, Stitch and Ace teamed up and beat Kicks, Lilo said with a smile at the training experiment. Now we can start getting him and you ready for your one true places, Naruto said. Oh. Kicks asked curiously as he tilted his head curiously. You can both teach people how to defend themselves, kickboxing and whatever else you know, Naruto said. Trainer and him then looked at each other and smiled at this before they fist bumped hard. Stitch and Ace laughed as they fist bumped, only to groan and shake their hands as everyone laughed. A few days later. Naruto was at his restaurant taking some orders since it was the lunch rush. 2 corned beefs on rye get while they're hot, Ruben said as he dinged the bell. Keep it up and you're getting a raise, Ruben, Naruto said as he took the sandwiches and took them to the customer. This whole lunch rush thing is really testing my sandwich making speed, Ruben said as he took the next order. Ow. The two looked to see Gontu having walked in and hit his head on the door. What are you doing here, Gontu? Nanny asked with a frown as she looked at the alien. I'm going after an experiment pod and need 62, sorry, Ruben's help. Sorry, I'm on the clock, grilled cheese order up. Ruben yelled as he dinged the bell. Hey, you can't come here, big dummies aren't allowed here, Naruto, we need your help, see there's an experiment pod heading for the island of Niihau. Okay, first of all this is a neutral place, second of all if Gontu wants to be here he needs to at least buy something, Naruto said as Nanny took the grilled cheese from Ruben. Well, I do need food if the trip takes, you have toasted bacon and raisin? Just like Mumu used to make. You bet, since you're Ruben buddy you pay half price, Ruben. Your buddy wants a sandwich. Naruto yelled into the back. I'll take a dozen, Gontu said as he nodded. Ogata, Sambada. Stitch yelled out as he held up a menu. 24. Oh god, not a competition day, Naruto groaned. Stitch is right, we do need food for the trip to Niihau, the Forbidden Island, Lilo said as she held up a menu. You two are not going there, it's miles away, Nanny said firmly as she approached. But one of Stitch's cousins are there. Lilo yelled at her sister. Yaga. Cousin. Stitch yelled as he nodded. Well, my watch hasn't beeped, meaning whatever it is hasn't been activated yet, Naruto said as he tapped at his watch. It's a island, it will be activated eventually, Lilo said as she pouted. See you there, Gontu said as he walked out with his sandwiches after paying, ow, and get a bigger door please. We can't let Gontu get it, Lilo said as she looked at Naruto. Alright, look, since you clearly need adult supervision, I'll go and we'll take Jumba and Pleakley with us, Naruto said. Nanny sighed at this, knowing Lilo wouldn't give up on this. Okay fine, but Naruto is in charge and you both take your phones just in case, she said firmly. Okay, Stitch and Lilo said. Yes dear, Naruto said with a feeble tone of voice before he led Lilo and Stitch away from the restaurant. Does that mean you're dating? Lilo asked as she smiled while Stitch laughed at Nanny's blush at Naruto's response. Kid, one of these days someone has to teach you sarcasm, Naruto said as he tousled her hair, making her laugh. Half an hour later. Everyone was in a rented speedboat which they were using to head first the island of Niihau. Suddenly Naruto's watch went off, warning experiment 619 activated, primary function plasma blasting, the watch said as it showed an image of what looked like a reddish bipedal creature with a big hole for a nose. Ah, 619, I remember him. Has bad attitude, Jumba said as he smiled as he reminisced. I still can't believe you left Ace behind, Lilo said as she figured Naruto would want to bring everyone he could to help. Nanny needed all the help she could get, which reminds me I should probably hire some more employees. Who knew that island had so many people, Naruto said as he drove the speedboat. They arrived at the island and found a rather charred Gontu hiding under opening in the mountain by the beach. What happened to you? Pleakley asked as the boat stopped. The experiment. Ganti said simply as he scowled. Naruto looked around and soon he spotted 619 on top of a cliff. Get down, he yelled before he grabbed Lilo and ran to a rock and took cover. 619 cackled before he fired some plasma at the boat just as Jumba, Pleakley and Stitch jumped off to follow Naruto. 619 is programmed to constantly bombard his target with endless plasma blasts. Will be toast before we could reach his vantage point, Jumba said as him and the others all took cover. There goes my deposit, Naruto said as he scowled at the destroyed speedboat as it sunk. Does that thing ever stop? Gontu asked as he had since 619 was firing at him again. And no, 619 has relentless, inexhaustible firepower. We could be trapped here for years, Jumba said as he laughed heavily. Focus DMNet. Naruto yelled as he made sure Lilo was in cover as some plasma blasts went over their heads. Uchibuta. Stitch said pointing at Lilo. 626 says you should watch your mouth, Jumba said. Sorry, I get testy when kids are in danger, Naruto said with a scowl as he looked at the cliff 619 was on. Pleakley, what are you doing? Lilo asked as Pleakley was just laying there. Playing dead, a nature documentary I saw said this is what people should do when predators are coming at you. That's for earth animals. 619 isn't that stupid, Jumba said as he rolled his eyes. But maybe we can trick him, let him think he's blown us up. Quick, find everything you can use to make figurines with, Naruto said. Why should I help? Gontu asked with a scowl at Naruto. The faster you help us the faster you can get back to your ship and away from Stitch, Lilo said simply. And we're pretty much your only method of getting back to the island as we're the only ones with phones to call someone, Naruto added. Gontu scowled at this before he sighed. Okay fine, we can work together for now, but when this is over nothing changes, he said firmly as he approached them. Whatever, now let's make a raft and figurines, Naruto said as he led everyone to the forest nearby. 3 hours later. Everyone but Naruto was under the cliff as he was pushing out a makeshift boat that had dummies of everyone in it. Oh, great job guys, now we can finally go home. Hopefully old Crater Nose doesn't see us. Naruto yelled loudly, getting 619's attention. The experiment then fired, destroying the raft, while Naruto jumped off it. The experiment then screeched and laughed in victory before he began to crawl down like a spider to the beach. He then looked at the water to make sure he had blasted them. Now! Lilo shouted, spooking 619 as Stitch and Gantu leapt and dogpiled on the experiment. Naga! 619 yelled as he charged a blast before Stitch grabbed him by his face and spat a lot of water into his nose, stopping him from firing for a while. Got you, Splottyhead, Lilo said as Jumba handed Gantu a experiment container. That was remarkably easy, Gantu said as he locked up the experiment in the pod. Things always are when you work together. Now a little help here? Naruto asked as he swam over to them. Ah, I got you, whiskered human, Gantu said as he walked over and pulled Naruto to shore. Call me Naruto and look at you, bring helpful, Naruto said with a chuckle as Gantu put him down next to Lilo and Stitch. Don't get used to it, Gantu said as he looked away. Hey, I'll get you as a friend yet, Naruto said as he chuckled before he took out his phone and hit speed dial. Hello? Naruto? Where are you guys? It's getting late. Nani yelled after his phone rang a few times. Yeah, the experiment blew up my boat and we need a ride. What? Is Lilo okay? Nani yelled out in worry. I'm fine, Nani. Naruto saved me and wouldn't let me leave his sight. Lilo said as she grabbed Naruto's arm so she could talk into the phone. Oh, thank God. Alright, just hold on tight and I'll get a boat and come and get you, Nani said. Make it a big one, Gantu needs a ride too, Naruto said as he nodded at Gantu. Okay, you're footing the bill though, Nani said before she hung up. Had jokes on her, I use my mom's card, Naruto said as he chuckled. Now where to have your one true place, Lilo said looking at Splottyhead. Why not as a tiki torch lighter for David's luau's, after all he likes shooting stuff, Naruto suggested. Oh Yaga. Stitch said as he nodded as he agreed with this idea. I don't get why you do this with these abominations, Gantu said as he sighed. Everything has a place in the world, they just need to find it, same with you, Lilo said as she smiled. Yeah, I mean yeah, they were made to be evil by this moron, but they are learning to be better like any other intelligent creature, plus you're friends with Ruben, right? Naruto said as he nodded at Lilo. Hey, Jumba said as he lightly glared at Naruto for his dig at him. He's right, you are a moron, a genius moron, but a moron nonetheless, Pleakley said simply. Take you for example, you helped us even though you didn't want to and you didn't even try to take Splottyhead, Lilo said as she smiled at Gantu. I promised to help while we were here, as a ex-galactic officer I should be a being of my word, Gantu said firmly. Don't worry big guy, you'll find your place, as I'm sure it's not working for a gerbil that you could squish with one toe, Naruto said patting Gantu's leg. Gantu said nothing to this, but he thought about what they said as they waited for their ride home. A few days later. Naruto was at the grocery store getting some items for his apartment. Let's see, fruit, vegetables, ramen, milk, cereal, Naruto said as he placed his items on the checkout. Suddenly his watch went off, which made Naruto pause. Experiment 303 activated, primary function, erases memories, the watch said as it showed an image of what looked like a blue bug. Dang it, I do not need this today, especially on Lilo's day, Naruto said as Nani told him today was Lilo's birthday. He quickly paid for his stuff and headed outside towards his truck. As he put his groceries inside the truck, he spotted 303 flying by near some people and zapping them before it flew off. Naruto sighed as he got into his truck. Should probably go to Jumba first since he probably has a way to restore people's memories, he thought to himself before he started his truck and drove off. Lilo's house. Jumba, open up, I need gear for your amnesia experiment, Naruto said, knocking on the door. The door opened, showing Pleakley in Nani's clothes. Didn't Nani say get your own clothes? Naruto asked as the Cyclops alien let him in. Is Lilo with you? Pleakley asked, ignoring this question. No, she's not. I'm here to ask Jumba for information on some amnesia experiment that got loose, Naruto said as he headed for the back of the house. Amnesia experiment, there's a experiment out there that makes amnesia with Lilo and Stitch out there? Pleakley said. Most likely, which is why I'm asking Jumba for a cure first, Naruto said as he approached Jumba's bedroom door. Ah. Whiskered male, what brings you here today? Jumba asked as he looked up from his work table. Experiment 303 got loose, please tell me you have a cure for him, Naruto said as he held up his watch and taped it showing an image of said experiment. Ah yes, amnesia experiment. If I do remember, I did input a password to make 303 release memories only. I can't remember what it is, Jumba said as he scratched his head. Please tell me you keep records in your computer, Naruto said as he rested the urge to smack Jumba in the back of the head. Of course I do. What kind of half-baked evil genius you take me for? Jumba asked, looking insulted. You don't want to answer for that, Pleakley said simply with a flat tone, making Naruto laugh. Jumba rolled his eyes as walked over to his computer and typed into it, aha, the password, ironically enough for Hawaii is Ohana, he said. Well, at least it's one that's easy to remember. Any tips for avoiding his attacks? Naruto said as he headed for the door. Do not look 303 in eyes, eye contact is essential for memory wiping process, Jumba said. Noted. Also I saw him zapping people before I came here. Can his attacks be reflected? Naruto asked curiously as he figured it was best to get all the information he could. Ah, you can actually, with mirror. Very clever idea for a human, Jumba said as he nodded at Naruto. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. I'll get it, Naruto said as he went to the front door, and when he opened it he saw Lilo and Stitch. Do I know you? Lilo asked curiously. Oh, Naruto said before he noticed Gantu at the steps holding 303. Hello citizen, can you help us? Gantu asked curiously but in a kind tone. Citizen? Naruto asked curiously as he raised an eyebrow. Yes, I am a police officer, Gantu said with a proud tone. Naruto chuckled at this. Looks like you do have something you want to do, it just took your memories being taken for you to know it, he said as he shook his head. Stitch said as he tilted his head curiously. I know all three of you, so don't worry, I'll explain, Naruto said as he walked out of the house and sat down on the steps. You will? Lilo asked curiously. Yes, after all you could say I'm Ohana. 303's eyes flashed, followed by Lilo, Stitch's and Gantu's. Hey, I can remember now, Lilo said as she smiled. Don't worry about, heck with it, Amnesio, Hamster Vale will take good care of him, Gantu said with a smirk as he walked off. Ha! That's a good prank, Naruto said as he laughed. He actually named him, maybe we got through to him, Lilo said. Ayubata, Stitch said holding up his fingers in AC style. Hey, how did you three find your way home if you didn't have your memory? Naruto asked curiously. Oh, I asked Officer Kahiko. Lilo said, smiling, glad that things worked out for them. Well, anyway, here SQR, Naruto said as he handed Lilo a small box wrapped in a bow. You remembered my birthday? It was supposed to be a surprise party, sorry if Nanny did a bit too good of a job, Naruto said. Ohu, Stitch said as Lilo held up a seashell that was painted to look like a zombie. A zombie seashell, awesome. Lilo said as she smiled at the seashell. Well, I should know what you like by now, Naruto said as he smiled at Lilo. Thanks big bro. Lilo said as she hugged Naruto happily. Alright, come on in, I think Nanny's done setting up anyway, Naruto said as he led them inside. Coconut cake, Stitch yelled as he ran inside the house. Hey! No eating the whole thing. Nanny yelled out while Naruto and Lilo laughed. The next day, Naruto was at the restaurant doing inventory in the kitchen while Ruben was making sandwiches for the customers. Man, that show, look at this, really brought in the tourists, Ruben said as he made a meatball sub for a customer. Well, I may not like that show, but if it means more customers I'll take it, Naruto said as he counted the vegetables. Lilo hates it too, but I hear Myrtle may try getting on it, Nanny said as she came into the room to get the next order. Warning, experiment 383 activated, primary function, hypnotism. Oh, for crying out loud, Jumba made something like that? Naruto asked as the watch showed an image of a green experiment with swirly eyes. Oh yeah, I remember him, he was great at parties, Ruben said as he laughed while Nanny took the meatball sub he made. Well, the prankster in me already loves it, but Hamsterville could really do trouble with a hypnosis experiment. Well, get going then, I can hold down the fort here, Nanny said as she left the room to go deliver the sib to the customer. Thanks Nanny, Naruto said as he smiled, glad she was more confident in this job now. As Naruto headed for the back door, Lilo and Stitch walked into the room holding a container. Hiya big bro. Look what we found. Lilo said as she smiled. Yaga. Meet cousin. Stitch yelled as he held up the container holding 383, which looked at Naruto as his eyes swirled. Oh you butts. Naruto said before his eyes gained swirls in them. Good job cuz, Ruben said as he shook his head. Oops, Lilo said as she nervously chuckled at the mistake they made in their excitement. Oh, Jibba, ring ring. Stitch said as his hand made a phone sign. Lilo paused at this before she smiled brightly. Oh geez, what are you two up to? Ruben asked as he chuckled lightly. Naruto, you will give your mom a call and let us talk to her. Lilo said happily. Oh, this will go well, Ruben said as he knew how bad Naruto wanted to keep his mom away for as long as he could. Naruto took out his phone and hit the speed dial before he handed the phone to Lilo. Hello. Brad, is that you? A female voice yelled out on the other end of the phone. Hello. Are you Big Bro's mom? Lilo asked as she held the phone. Big Bro. Who is this? The woman asked curiously. Hi Miss Naruto's mom, my name's Lilo and I'm a friend of your son's and I'd love to meet you, Lilo said. Okay, first of all call me Kushina kid, and I would if I knew where he was. That brat of mine keeps moving around to avoid me cause I want him to settle down. Kushina yelled. Well, Naruto has been here in Koai for a few months now, so dash, Lilo was saying before she got cut off. He's in Hawaii. So my hotel manager wasn't lying, huh? Hey babe. Remind me to give my hotel manager a raise. Kushina yelled. Yutuba? Stitch asked curiously. Well, that explains what happened when we were dealing with Cannonball, Lilo said to him. Okay, thanks for the heads up kid, I'm on my way and try not to let my brat know, Kushina said sweetly as she could tell she already liked Lilo. I don't think that will be a problem, Lilo said looking at the swirly-eyed Naruto. You sound like a good kid, I should bring Himawari with me, she could use a new friend, Kushina said kindly before she hung up. Lilo smiled at this before she put Naruto's phone back in his pocket. Akababa? Stitch asked pointing at Naruto who was just standing there. Snap your fingers in front of him cuz, Ruben said simply as he made a BLT. Stick nodded at this before he snapped his fingers in front of him. What just happened? Why do you have the new experiment? Naruto asked after shaking his head. Oh, Swirly got you, but don't worry, you didn't embarrass yourself, Lilo said as she smiled innocently. I wonder where you're gonna have him. Naruto said. Well, he would do wonders at birthday parties, so maybe we'll have him be a party hypnosis, Lilo said. That's a good idea, good job kid, now how about I take you two out for ice cream since you all caught an experiment without causing trouble? Naruto asked as he smiled. Alright. I want moose tracks. Lilo said as she smiled. Cookie dough. Stitch yelled excitedly as Naruto led him and Lilo out of the room. Yeah, causing trouble my paw, Ruben said with a snicker as he made more sandwiches. What's going on? Nanny asked curiously as she came into the room. Nothing boss lady, but how are you at meeting in-laws? Ruben asked with a chuckle. In-laws? Nanny repeated as she raised her eyebrow. Ruben just laughed at this as he shook his head. With Naruto. Naruto was in the kitchen of the restaurant looking things before they would open for the day. Ruben, you cleaned those dishes yet? Naruto asked as he took inventory in the pantry. Already on it boss man, Ruben said as he cleaned the dishes. Ace, you got the silverware? Naruto asked as he continued his work. Yes, just getting on it, Ace said nervously. Eee. Someone have a buzzer or something? Naruto asked looking around. Suddenly the back door opened and Lilo and Stitch walked in holding a glass container which had an orange creature with a big head inside it. Hiya big bro. Look what we found, Lilo said as Stitch and her put down the container. Cousin. Oh yeah, I forgot boss, your wrist thingy was beeping. Ruben said as he gestured to the wall where Naruto's watch was hanging. Why didn't you tell me? Naruto said as he grabbed the watch and tapped it. Experiment 032 activated primary function, lie detector, the watch said as it showed an image of the new experiment. I was busy, Ruben said simply. 033 said as his head lit up. So he is a lie detector. Stitch told 2 lies on the way over and each time fiber here beeped, Lilo said. So he's a literal narc experiment, Naruto said with a chuckle. Stitch and Ruben burst out laughing at this. I don't get it, what's a narc? Lilo asked. It means he's a stool pigeon, Naruto said as he smiled at Lilo. In other words, little Lilo, he is someone that tells on others, a fibber if you will, Ace said. Sorry I'm late, Lilo, I said no bringing new experiments here unless they were trained first, Nanny said as she walked into the room and spotted Fiber. He's harmless though, he is a little narc, Naruto said with a chuckle. Fiber stuck his tongue out at Naruto at this. He's a lie detector, watch, Naruto, did you stare at Nanny yesterday on your visit? Not saying a thing but nice try gremlin, Naruto said with a chuckle as he knew if he said nothing then Fiber couldn't out him. I have finished the tables. Ace said as he came back into the room. Okay, I missed one, I had to go to the bathroom, Ace said with a chuckle. See, even shows that fully good experiments like Ace can tell lies, Lilo said. Well, at least he's not a destructive experiment now. Nanny, why are you late? Did Stitch trash the kitchen again? Naruto asked as he smiled. No, I ran into traffic, some Lolo redhead was yelling at someone who cut her off, Nanny said as she put on her apron. Oh no, Naruto said as he froze and his eyes widened. What? Nanny asked curiously. Was she kinda tall with violet eyes and fair skin? Naruto asked hoping his hunch was wrong. Yeah, actually she was, Nanny said as she nodded. Naruto paled even more. Okay Nanny, you're in charge for the next week, I need to get out of dash, Naruto was saying as he walked over to the back door and opened it revealing a woman with long red hair. Hello Brad, a little birdie told me you have a family now, the woman said with a smile that was anything but sweet. Naruto was silent at this and calmly closed the door and locked it and then turned to look at the others and started to sweat and his heart was beating rapidly. Oh Lord! My mother found me! Naruto bellowed as he ran waving his arms rapidly. That's your mom, I wanna meet her, Lilo said as she opened the door after Stitch unlocked it. No don't. Naruto yelled out before he hid in the pantry. Well, aren't you just the cutest little thing, Kushina said looking at Lilo with a smile. Aloha, I'm Lilo, Lilo said with a smile at Kushina. I remember talking to you yesterday, you're as cute as I thought, Kushina said as she smiled and patted Lilo on the head. When did this happen? Nanny asked curiously. Did you sell me out? Naruto yelled as he poked his head out of the pantry. Brat, you called me yourself, now stop acting like a baby. Kushina yelled as she looked at her son. You used that hypno experiment on me, didn't you? Naruto said flatly looking at Lilo and Stitch. I don't recall, Lilo said with a nervous tone. Fiber yelled out. Dang it. Lilo said as she frowned as Nanny and Naruto looked at Lilo with unamused looks. Ehehehehe Tajaba, Stitch said as he laughed and pointed at Lilo. Hey, it was your idea to use Swirly when we found him. Bebajabidi, Stitch said nervously. Interesting family you have, Brat, Kushina said with a chuckle. They are not my family, Mom, Naruto said as he sighed. Naruto's my babysitter, though I think he likes my sister considering he always st dash. Haha, love this kid, Naruto said, covering Lilo's mouth. Lilo then stuck her tongue out and slimed Naruto's arm. Ah, I hate it when she does that, Naruto said as he let Lilo go. Feel my pain, Nani said with a chuckle at this as Lilo did that to her too. Okay, what makes you think they are my family? Naruto asked as he cleaned his arm with a washcloth. All that. Kushina said, gesturing to them all. You said we were family before you saw that, Naruto said as he cleaned his arm. Oh well, my manager at the Birds of Paradise said that you were a guest there at one point and I didn't think it was true before the SQR here called me, Kushina said as she gestured to Lilo. You own it, of course you own it, Naruto grumbled, shaking his head. See ma'am, my sister was kinda down so we snuck into the hotel to let her play in the pool, Nani said nervously as she thought Kushina was mad. Yeah, that sounds like my brat, he has a soft spot for kids, Kushina said with a smile. Well yeah I do, I mean look at my own sister, Naruto said as he smiled. Speaking of, hey Himawari. I found him. Kushina yelled out the back door. Oh, OMPH. Naruto said as he got tackled by a red blur. Hiya big bro, a little girl what looked to be Lilo's age with short red hair said as she hugged Naruto. Oh my god, she's so cute, Nani said with a smile at the little girl. This is Himawari, her name means sunflower in Japanese, Naruto said as he struggled to get up thanks to his sister not letting go. Considering that smile of hers, she is definitely a little sunflower, Kushina said with a smile. Don't let the smile fool you, she's my mom's kid after all, Naruto said as he also smiled as Himawari let him go. Aloha, I'm Lilo and this is Stitch, Lilo said to the new girl. Hi, Stitch said as he smiled and waved. Stitch then grunted as Himawari got him into a tight hug. First thing you got to know about her is she's a hugger, a tight hugger at that, Naruto said as Stitch was waving his arms trying to get free. Stitch gasped as he was finally freed, letting him breathe before he ran away from Himawari, who decided to chase him. He's so fluffy, I want to keep hugging him. Himawari said as she smiled. Stitch, she's not gonna hurt you, Lilo said as she smiled. Naga. Stitch said as he shook his head as he hung from the ceiling. Are you all gonna be here for a while? Nani asked curiously. She looked at Kushina. I own several business, I can live wherever I want, Kushina said as she waved her hand dismissively. Oh goody, Naruto said flatly as he sighed. Grow up brat, you're not escaping me now, Kushina said with a glare. I know, Naruto said as he looked down depressed. Hey, so you're the boss man's mom, gotta say dash, Ruben said. Choose those words carefully, koala thing, Kushina said. I was gonna say I can see why the boss is scared of you, you give off a scary vibe, Ruben said quickly. Yeah, like on Halloween when Spooky turned into you as his greatest fear, Lilo said with a giggle. Please, Spooky was a pale imitation, Naruto said as he grumbled. Then why were you still so scared? Lilo asked curiously. Because I was surprised, Naruto said simply. Fiber yelled out. Oh, shut it, you. Naruto yelled at the lie detector. Ka-san, can we live here? It's a lot more fun than the city. Himawari asked her mother as she tried to lure Stitch off the ceiling. I gotta say I agree, this little island is very relaxing, Kushina said as she looked at Naruto. I can't believe these words are leaving my lips, but I agree, Himawari and Lilo would get along great as Lilo enjoys monster movies and other stuff Himawari would love, Naruto said. Good, I already have your father setting us up in a room at the hotel, Kushina said as she smiled. You're gonna live in the hotel? Nani asked curiously. Oh sure, it saves money and I won't have to go far to help run the place, Kushina said as. She nodded. Yeah, into the ground, ow. Naruto said under his breath before Kushina poked him in the forehead. Says you fry cook, Kushina said as she glared lightly. Hey, this place is a thriving business with both tourists and locals, Naruto said with a pout as he rubbed his forehead. Even though business boomed when I was introduced to this place with my ace sandwich making skills, Ruben said with a grin. I already gave you a raise, Ruben, Naruto said with a twitching eyebrow. And I am Ace, your son's partner, MDM, Ace said as he saluted Kushina. So I'm gonna guess these are the experiments you're helping the SQR with? Kushina said as she gestured to Stitch, Ace and Ruben. How do you know? Lilo asked curiously. Ka-sen asked the Bubbles guy why Big Bro was here and he folded faster than a lawn chair, Himawari said with a smile. That's right, sweetie, Kushina said with a proud smile on her face. Sell out, Naruto grumbled under his breath. Hush brat, now let's get something to eat, me and your little sis are starving, Kushina said as she smiled. Yay! Coconut cake. Himawari said as she smiled. Stitch said before looking, seeing he let go of the ceiling falling next to Himawari. Haha, I forgot to mention that's her favorite dessert, Naruto said as he smiled. Stitch growled at Naruto as he was caught in Himawari's hugs again. Oh, don't worry little guy, I won't hurt you, Himawari said as she hugged Stitch softer now. Better, Stitch said as he nodded. Just wait, she'll be trying to hold him in her sleep, Naruto said as he smiled. Later at Lilo's house. Naruto carried Fiber into Jumba and Pleakley room to get some more information on Fiber. 033, designed to detect any lie with super hearing ears, Jumba said with a smile. Why make a lie detector anyway? Naruto asked as he sat down on the bed. See shirt, picture fabric as society, each lie holds said society together, but when truth told, less fabric. Society cannot function without lies, Jumba said holding up a shirt and pulled on its thread for emphasis. You are evil, Naruto said as he shook his head. Why thank you, Jumba said with a proud smile. Hey brat. What's this I hear about you not dating Nani? Kushina's voice was bellowing from downstairs. Get used to that by the way, Naruto said flatly. What was that? Jumba asked as he held his ears. Yeah, it sounds like a earth banshee, Pleakley said. It's worse, it's my mom, Naruto said as he sighed. Ugh, mothers, don't I know it, Pleakley said with a shudder. Pleakley's mother's been calling him again, wants him to settle down with wife, Jumba said as he sighed. Same with my mom, Naruto said with his own shudder. You talking about me, brat? Kushina yelled upstairs. Yeah. I said you're a crazy bit dash, Naruto was yelling before he was cut off. Hiya big bro. Himawari and Lilo yelled together as they entered the room with Stitch close behind. Hey, you guys having fun? Naruto asked with a smile. You bet, Hima and I are already best friends, Lilo said with a smile. Ei. Hima good. Stitch yelled as he nodded. She rope you into watching anime with her yet? Naruto asked with a teasing smile at Himawari. Smash. Stitch said throwing a punch. Well, stay age appropriate, you don't want Nani mad, Naruto said. Don't worry bro, Miss Nani already warned us and Ka-san is already suggesting new ways to DSPLN Lilo and Stitch if they disobey, Himawari said as she smiled. Ouch, Naruto said with a flinch along with Lilo and Stitch. Why is scary red hair woman not freaking out about my experiments? She's taking this so casually, Jumba asked. Oh, she knows about aliens are a thing, she was the one who trained Bubbles back in the day, Naruto said as he waved his hand dismissively. No wonder she's scary, Pleakley said as he nodded. Stitch said as he nodded in agreement. I'm gonna go ask Mom if I can sleep over, Himawari said as she walked out of the room. And we can go to the medieval fair tomorrow. Lilo said as she and Stitch followed. Naruto smiled at this, happy for Lilo and his little sister. Your little sister is good for little girl, Jumba said as he looked up from his work. Yeah, I guess the headache from my mom is worth it, Naruto said with a smile. Pleakley smiled at this, happy for Lilo having a new friend before his phone went off along him and Jumba groaned. You want me to handle it? Naruto asked curiously. No, I'll just avoid, hey. Pleakley yelled as Naruto snatched his phone. Hello? Naruto asked as he answered the phone. Hello? Who is this? Where is Undi, a female alien that looked like Pleakley asked. Undi? Naruto asked with a snort and a smirk at Pleakley, who groaned and slammed his head on a desk. Yes, that is my first name, Pleakley groaned out. Naruto snickered at this while Jumba laughed loudly. Oh, I recognize you. You're the new friend Wendy told me about that helps his friends a lot, Miss Pleakley said with a smile. You listen to my stories? Pleakley asked, surprised as he thought nobody in his family listened. Of course I do, dear. What kind of mother you rake me for? Miss Pleakley asked. So you heard him say he didn't want to get married yet? Naruto asked curiously. No, he always just hung up and avoided me for weeks whenever I brought it up. Wendy, you should know better than to be afraid of me, Miss Pleakley yelled. What did you think, she would disown you or something? Naruto asked as he knew Pleakley exaggerated a lot in his head. Maybe? Pleakley asked with a nervous chuckle. Naruto and Jumba looked at Pleakley with flat looks while Pleakley's phone hung up. Ding dong. I'll get it. Pleakley yelled as he left his room and went to the front door with Naruto close behind since he still had Pleakley's phone. Pleakley opened the door and... Wendy Pleakley. How could you think that? Miss Pleakley yelled as she entered the house. Yeah man, that's your mom, Naruto said as he chuckled at the fact she showed up in person to yell this. Wait, how did she get here so fast? Jumba asked curiously. Mother speed man, a angry mom is a lot faster than you think, Naruto said. I was already on my way now. If you're not getting married I should at least meet this adopted family of yours, Miss Pleakley said as she looked around. Who is here? Nanny asked as she entered the room. Yeah, I was teaching Nanny to make ramen for you, brat, Kushina said as she followed. Everyone meet. Wendy Pleakley's mom, Naruto said with a grin at Pleakley, who groaned. Later. It was now dusk and Naruto was getting ready to leave as Kushina had already left Lilo's house and Himawari was up in Lilo and Stitch's dome sleeping over while Pleakley's mom was already gone after meeting everyone and making up with her son. Sorry about all that happening today, Nanny, Naruto said as they stood out on the deck together. It's fine, your mom may be loud but she's not that bad actually, Nanny said with a chuckle. Thanks, I'm happy Himawari made a new friend, Naruto said as they heard Lilo, Himawari and Stitch laughing together upstairs. So I'm your type, huh? Nanny asked with a raised eyebrow. Dmn it mom, Naruto grumbled after he froze under Nanny's look at him. Oh, and I was gonna ask you to come with us to the medieval fair tomorrow, Nanny said with a frown. I'll be there. Naruto quickly said without thinking before he paused. Wait, he said as he realized what just happened. Nice to know you'll go. I imagine you'll have Pleakley making you a outfit for it like Lilo's gonna do, Nanny said as she smiled. Yeah sure, I'll do it, but you're dressing up too. I refuse to look goofy alone, Naruto said with a chuckle. Fair enough, Nanny said as she nodded. So, this mean we're dating? Naruto asked nervously after a brief pause. You keep being yourself and we will see, Nanny said with a coy smile before she went inside the house with a slight sway of her hips. Dmnu mom, Naruto grumbled as he turned to leave knowing Kushina had gotten to Nanny. The next day. Naruto had just arrived at his restaurant after dropping Fiber off at the police station so he could help them with interrogations and walked into the building through the back door. Look Naruto, I'm a pretty princess, Himawari said as she greeted Naruto. So it's a Sunday, Naruto said with a chuckle at his little sister. This made Himawari pout cutely. Come on, Mr. Pleakley has your costume made, Himawari said as she pulled him to the front of the restaurants where everyone else was sitting at one of the big tables. Hima, how did they get in? The restaurant is closed on Sundays, Naruto said as he looked at everyone. I let them in thanks to Stitch, Himawari said with a smile. Stitch held up his claws and smiled at this. He was dressed up in a makeshift suit of armor. So he's a knight, you and Lilo are princesses, where's Nanny? Naruto asked as he noticed Nanny wasn't here. Right here. Naruto's eyes widened as Nanny stood there in an orange regal dress fit for a queen. Woo. Naruto said as his eyes widened and he blushed a little. I suggested orange to pleekly, Lilo said with a smile. Remind me to thank him, Naruto muttered. Now to get you in yours, Himawari said with a grin. At Lilo's house. Ladies, alien and genetic experiment, may I present to you your prince for this evening, pleekly said as he stepped out of the way as Naruto entered the living room dressed in a prince costume. Huh, you clean up pretty well, Nani said with a chuckle at Naruto's look. It's a little tight, Naruto said as he adjusted his shirt a little. Hey, I made it form-fitting so it's hugging everything on you, and don't rip it doing any of your Eunice, pleekly said as he came into the room dressed as a minstrel complete with a lute. That explains why it, never mind, Naruto said. Let's go already, I don't want to miss out on anything, Lilo said as she smiled along with Stitch and Hima. Alright, after you miladies, Naruto said as he bowed. Thanks, nice but, Lilo said making Naruto shoot straight up as her and Hima laughed running to the car. I told you it hugs good, pleekly said with a smile as he and Jumba walked past them. Oh relax, Nani likes it. Lilo yelled from the buggy making Stitch and Himawari laugh. Oh pipe down. Nani said with a blush as she got in Naruto's truck while Jumba and pleekly would drive the buggy. So, I'm your type too huh? Naruto asked with a chuckle as he started the truck. Nani groaned at this as Naruto drove the truck. Medieval Festival. The group were now in the festival after Naruto had paid extra so Stitch could get in. You didn't need to pay so much so Stitch could get in, Nani said as she knew the insurance for a pet entering the fair was high. Relax, I used my mom's emergency card, Naruto said with a grin. Nani sighed at this but chuckled a little at Naruto being immature. You all do the whatever, I am signing up for mutton eating contest, Jumba said rubbing his hands together. They have that? I want in. Naruto said as he went to follow but Nani grabbed his arm stopping him. Not so fast, I haven't danced in years and I need a partner, Nani said. Agacha boogie, haha, Stitch said as he laughed at Naruto. Oh, go to the dessert buffet, Naruto said with a pout. Yagami dessert buffet? Stitch yelled before he ran off cackling madly. Thanks bro, Himawari said with a groan as she knew it would take a lot to get Stitch out of the buffet. Don't worry, Stitch is learning moderation, Lilo said as she smiled. Oh wow, that knight is chugging all the root beer, a man yelled. Go. 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 A crowd was chanting as Stitch chugged a massive barrel of root beer. When Stitch finished he crushed the barrel and burped loudly, that's good root beer, he yelled causing the crowd to cheer in approval. Root beer, makes sense, can't exactly have mead or rum in a kid's medieval festival, Naruto said. You two have fun and we'll meet up later for lunch, Nani said as she dragged Naruto off. Wow, you are strong aren't you, Naruto asked as Nani dragged him to a dance floor. You know how to dance right? Nani asked as they took ready stances. No, Naruto said sheepishly. Okay, I'll lead here, I'll take you hand and you grab my waist, Nani said as she took his hand. Okay, Naruto said as he blushed a little. Oh, not that far on the waist, Nani said giving him a look. You should know me better than that, Nani, Naruto said. I know you look at me when you think I'm not looking, Nani said with a chuckle as they started to dance with her leading. Well, I'm not blind, Naruto said with a nervous chuckle as he let Nani lead him in the dance. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 yeah you're getting it, Nani said. Well, I have a good teacher, Naruto said with a chuckle as he was glad he wasn't messing this up. Why thank you, Nani said as she smiled. Orange really brings out your eyes, Naruto said making her blush. Well I prefer green but I could see adding more orange to my wardrobe, Nani said as she tried to compose herself. Naruto smiled at this as they stopped dancing and looked into each other's eyes. Roa error. This caused everyone to yell as Naruto and Nani saw what looked like a giant orange bipedal experiment that had Stitch on his tail trying to stop him. Oh really? Nani said aggravated at being interrupted. Taigucha, cousin, big cousin, Stitch yelled as he held on to the big. Ah, my experiment 586 designed to eat metal and grow bigger the more he eats, causing untold havoc. Ahahaha. Jumba laughed. Rain check? Naruto asked Nanny as he didn't want her to think he was ditching her. Nanny sighed and nodded before Naruto ran off to go help Stitch. Hands off my buddy, big man. Naruto yelled as he jumped onto 586, making him drop Stitch. Nanny smiled as she watched Naruto. Freeze you too, she said as she noticed Lilo and Himawari trying to sneak past her to go help. But we have to help Stitch before he gets eaten, he's wearing a metal suit of armor, Lilo said. What you need is a big trap for this one, Himawari said as she pointed out a spaceship flying towards 586. It's the big dummy, Lilo said with a frown as she spotted Gantu in the driver's seat. Naruto then shouted as he was thrown away from 586 and crashed at Lilo, Himawari and Nanny's feet. Lilo, I hate to be the one to say this, but I think Gantu's the only one who can catch this one. We don't have traps big enough for Tank here, Naruto said as he groaned as he got up. I wanted to name one. Himawari said with a pout. Sorry sis. Stitch was then thrown off Tank and crashed into a food stand. Gantu then took this chance to trap Tank in a giant glass container. As you people say. Sayonara, Gantu said as he flew his ship away. Growling Akababa. Stitch yelled out at this. Take it easy Stitch, Tank was just too much. Naruto said. Plus he waited for you to be out of the way when he could have let Tank eat you first, so he's not that bad, Himawari said as she smiled. Geez, look at the fair, Lilo said as Tank did some damage. Well, it was only a few food stands which can be fixed, Nanny said as she patted the two kids on the head. Already on it, Naruto said as he took out his phone and hit the speed dial for Ace. Minutes later. Everyone was sitting at a picnic table eating while they watched Ace, who was dressed as the White Knight, helped repair the fair and was now jousting with Stitch. You got this Stitch. Lilo yelled as she smiled at Stitch, who was on his horse. Go easy, it's just for fun Ace. Himawari said to SCE, who was on his own horse. Ace smiled at this as him and Ace charged at each other with their lances and shields ready. Gak. Stitch grunted as he got knocked off his horse by Ace. Haha, I nominate this victory to Lady Himawari. Ace said, grinning his shining teeth. Growling, Ugaba. Stitch yelled as he stomped his feet. Come on Fluffball, nobody likes a sore loser, Naruto said as he shook his head. Yeah, you did good. Here you can have my coconut cake, Himawari said as she pushed a plate of cake toward Stitch. Cake. Stitch said in excitement as he sat at the table and took his cake. Well, besides Tank crashing the festival, this was a good family outing, Nanny said as she smiled. Especially for you, we saw what you and Big Bro were about to do, Lilo said with a laugh. I hope you get a crush on someone so I can make you miserable, Nanny said with a chuckle at her little sister. Bah, no way. Lilo said as she shook her head at this. Then what about Kion? Naruto asked with a smirk. We are just friends, Lilo said as she looked away. That and you embarrassed yourself in front of him, Naruto said with a smile. Haha, you jichabai, Stitch said as he laughed along with the others. A few days later. Lilo was at her hula school along with Himawari, who had joined the class. Alright class, I would like everyone to give a big aloha to our new student Himawari Uzumaki, Moses said to the class. The same Uzumaki as that restaurant everyone loves? Myrtle asked curiously. That's my big brother. Himawari said as she smiled. Oh. What brings you to Kauai? Moses asked curiously. My big brother gave my mom a call and I came along with her and my dad. I love it here, it has such nice pretty flowers. Himawari said with a smile. Speaking of flowers, don't forget for the fair there is a orchid flower contest. If you have the skills I encourage you to join in any of the contests, Moses said as he passed out some flyers to the students. Lilo and Himawari took a flyer and looked at it excitedly. Wanna work together on a plant? Himawari asked Lilo with a smile. Yeah, it'll be easy, Lilo said as she smiled back. Later at Lilo's house. Lilo, Himawari and Stitch were sitting in Lilo and Stitch's room dome. This is hard, Lilo groaned looking at their pot full of soil with the orchid seeds inside it. Hey, you wake up, Himawari said, poking the pot while Stitch sniffed the pot. Plants don't work like that, sis, Naruto said as he entered the room through the elevator. Don't you have something to make it grow faster? Lilo asked curiously. Why not just help Stitch? He's entering the rodeo contest after all, Naruto said as he gestured to Stitch, who was trying to learn how to use a lasso, but was tying himself up. Maybe Jumba has something that can help us, Himawari said as she looked at Lilo. Lilo smiled at this before both kids left the dome. Naruto sighed at this and looked at Stitch, who was still tangled up. You need help or will you be okay? He asked the experiment. Gur yuga daba ga Stitch said as he tried to free himself but couldn't. Naruto sighed at this as he went to help Stitch get loose. Later. After Naruto had helped Stitch get loose, he went downstairs to see how Lilo and Himawari were doing. As he entered Jumba's room, both Lilo and Himawari ran past them. Where are you two going? Naruto asked curiously. We have a plant to grow big, bro. Himawari said as she ran. Yeah, don't worry about it. Lilo yelled. Oh, that's a good sign, Naruto said as he looked at Jumba wanting an explanation. All little girls wanted to use experiment 509 for Earth contest, but I convinced them that would be too dangerous, Jumba said as he showed Naruto his laptop, which had an image of what looked like a living plant experiment. Did one of them talk to you and the other was silent? Naruto asked with a knowing tone. Yes, why? Jumba asked curiously. Was the pot in this open drawer? Naruto asked as he pointed at an open drawer. Yes, it was, Jumba said as he nodded. You're a smart idiot, you know that, Naruto said as he left the room. What? Jumba asked, having no clue what was wrong. Naruto said nothing as he approached the elevator to Lilo and Stitch's room dome. Okay, you two are busted. Naruto yelled as he entered the elevator and was lifted up into the room. Ah, Himawari said as the very plant experiment opened its mouth for her to put a cookie in its mouth. We can explain. Lilo asked with a nervous chuckle as Naruto glared at them. This is our plant, I named him Sprout, Himawari said with a smile as Sprout ate a cookie. Naruto sighed at this as he pinched his nose. Didn't Jumba tell you he was dangerous? He asked. So Stitch, and almost every experiment, but she makes them good, Himawari said pointing at Lilo. Look, I'm not saying you can't try and teach Sprout to be good, but you can't use him as an entry for the contest, Naruto said. Sure we can, we just gotta keep him off the ground. Lilo said as she smiled. That's why he's in a pot, Himawari said as she gave Sprout another cookie. And when the pot breaks when he gets bigger? Naruto asked with a flat tone. I'll give him cookies, he just loves these, watch he'll do tricks for them. Sprout make a heart, Himawari said as Sprout extended his tendrils to make a heart shape over himself. Okay, let's test this, Sprout. What's your primary function? Naruto asked the experiment, wanting to be sure. PFFFFFFT. Sprout just blew a raspberry at him, laughing. He won't be bad, big bro, Lilo said as she shook her head. Yeah, if he destroyed the world then that would mean no more cookies, Himawari said as she fed Sprout some more. Yagata. Sprout yelled in shock at this information as he choked on his cookie at this. Yeah, and then no one would be around to give you snacks like donuts. Donuts, Sprout said, licking his lips. This mean you promise to be good? Himawari asked with a smile. Sprout said as he nodded in agreement. Okay, fine, but you have to find his one true place, as I don't think potted plant is that, Naruto said. No problem, Mom's hotel needs an attraction to bring in customers, would you like that, Sprout? Himawari as she smiled at Sprout. He probably will, as everyone would be feeding him junk, Naruto said flatly. Double. Sprout said as he nodded in agreement. Lilo and Himawari smiled at this before they looked at Naruto. Okay, I'll trust you too, Naruto said as he nodded, as he figured if worse comes to worse Stitch and Ace could contain Sprout. Yay! Himawari cheered as she hugged Sprout. Sho smiled as he liked hugs. You're lucky he's a plant, he has no bones for you to smush with your hugs like you do to Stitch, Naruto said with a chuckle. Stitch said as he nodded in agreement. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more crossovers. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author KFB Anime 87 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.